Chapter 3763. The ruler's armor appeared. Inside the ruler's armor, a powerful ruler's power was emitted. It also protected Meng Bingling, who was on Lin Feng's back. Lin Feng summoned the Skyfire. The 5 Skyfire. They formed the 5 elements Skyfire formation. The power of the 5 Skyfire that formed the Skyfire formation became even more powerful. The 5 Skyfire once again swept towards the billions of blood-red hair that were trying to assassinate Lin Feng. The runes that were wrapped around the billions of blood-red hair emitted an astonishing fluctuation, resisting the burning of the 5 Skyfire. But this time, after the 5 Skyfire formed the Skyfire formation, their power merged with each other. So the power also increased greatly. Even the mysterious runes that were wrapped around the surface of the blood-red hair, they couldn't completely resist the terrifying power that erupted from the 5 Skyfire after the fusion. Some runes began to be destroyed, and the blood-red hair that had its protective runes destroyed was ignited. Of course, only a small part of the blood-red hair was ignited, and most of the blood-red hair, it was still terrifying. It locked onto Lin Feng. It seemed that it wouldn't stab Lin Feng to death in the void. It wouldn't give up. Sword, slash, heaven, earth. Lin Feng held the black dragon sword in his hand. He began to communicate with the black dragon sword. Lin Feng's divine will. He got in touch with the black dragon, the artifact spirit of the black dragon sword. Roar. A high-pitched dragon roar was heard. The artifact spirit of the black dragon sword was revived. This was the most powerful ability of the black dragon sword at the current stage. Once the black dragon was revived, the power of the black dragon sword would be raised to its peak level. A dazzling sword light was slashed out by Lin Feng. At the same time, a black dragon phantom also flew out. The black dragon phantom, it fused with the sword energy. It instantly turned into a sword light that was densely covered with black dragon runes. This sword light that was densely covered with black dragon runes had fused with the power of the black dragon sword's artifact spirit. Its power suddenly increased by many times. The defensive runes of the blood-red hair that had not been ignited by the 5 Skyfire after the fusion had already been severely damaged. On the other hand, Lin Feng's sword had reached the level of man and sword as one. It would not be an exaggeration to say that this sword strike was the strongest sword strike Lin Feng had ever slashed out. Therefore, when the sword ray slashed towards the dense blood-red hair, it was as if it had been struck by lightning. First, the runes on the surface of the blood-red hair were shattered. After those runes were shattered, the long blood-red hair was instantly ignited. When the long blood-red hair was ignited, the long blood-red hair was instantly severely injured. Its power was far less than before. On the other hand, Lin Feng's tyrannical sword qi erupted with astonishing power. A large amount of blood-red hair. It was directly cut in half. "My hair!" The crimson-haired woman couldn't help but scream in anger. His long blood-red hair quickly retracted. Eventually, it reached the height of his waist. The shrunken blood-red hair dissolved the burning of the heavenly fire. The blood-haired woman was infuriated. She looked at Lin Feng with eyes that seemed to be spitting fire. "I want your life," the crimson-haired woman said coldly. Across the void, palm after palm blasted towards Lin Feng. It was a primordial and desolate aura. It permeated between heaven and earth. That aura was too terrifying. This supernatural power was called the Desolate Palm. The crimson-haired woman's cultivation was terrifying. Naturally, her supernatural power was also extremely powerful. Previously, the crimson-haired woman had attacked across the void, but it was a casual attack. not a supernatural power attack. Most of the time, she used her long blood-red hair to attack Lin Feng, but it just so happened that her long blood-red hair was restrained by Lin Feng's heavenly fire, and with the help of Lin Feng's black dragon sword, the crimson-haired woman's attack was broken. However, when the crimson-haired woman performed a powerful supernatural power, the situation was completely different. The power of the crimson-haired woman's supernatural power made Lin Feng's hair stand on end. Supreme Reincarnation Fist. Without thinking, Lin Feng directly used his trump card to resist the crimson-haired woman's attack. The supernatural power formations in Lin Feng's body began to operate. All the supernatural power formations. They were all added to Lin Feng's Supreme Reincarnation Fist. Bang! The Supreme Reincarnation Fist collided with the crimson-haired woman's attack. Suddenly, there was an earth-shaking loud sound. A powerful force suddenly erupted, and Lin Feng's body was sent flying. Even though he was wearing the Dominator's armor, he still felt as if his internal organs were burning. Wah! Finally, Lin Feng couldn't withstand the terrifying power that poured into his body. Therefore, he directly spat out a mouthful of blood. Meng Bingling, who was on Lin Feng's back, woke up in a daze, seeing the blood that Lin Feng spat out dripping on her hand. Her expression changed drastically. "How are you?" Meng Bingling asked. "Don't worry. I'm fine." Lin Feng wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, "You're quite stubborn. However, I didn't even use 10% of my strength, and you were already spitting out blood. If I use 10% of my strength, I'm afraid you'll be beaten to death." The crimson-haired woman walked towards Lin Feng step by step, a cold and emotionless expression on her face. Lin Feng laughed coldly and said, "Hee hee, what a coincidence. I didn't even use 5% of my strength just now because I've always felt that a good man doesn't fight with a woman. If you know what's good for you, you'd better leave quickly. Otherwise, I don't mind destroying you. You're about to die. You're still so stubborn. But don't worry. I won't kill you directly. It's too easy to die. Wouldn't that be letting you off easy? I'll torture you properly. After I've tortured you enough, I'll kill you." The crimson-haired woman's voice was cold. Bang, bang, bang. She directly used the great desolate palm, and palm after palm struck towards Lin Feng. That terrifying attack. It was powerful to the point where people couldn't help but be shocked. Lin Feng used the Supreme Reincarnation Fist to block the crimson-haired woman's great desolate palm. After 4 or 5 consecutive collisions, Lin Feng had used up most of his dermic powers. The Supreme Reincarnation Fist consumed too much of his dermic powers. The situation was extremely unfavorable for Lin Feng. "Go. Put me down. Leave quickly. Her target is me. If you put me down, she won't chase you anymore," Meng Bingling said with a pale face. She struggled to get up and stop the crimson-haired woman, but Lin Feng grabbed her. "Leaving my companions to escape is not my style," Lin Feng said with a grin. He began to use the 8-9 mysteries. Lin Feng planned to use the 8-9 mysteries to complete the ultimate attack. The power of the 8-9 mysteries was extremely terrifying, but the side effects were also extremely obvious. Once the 8-9 mysteries was used, this divine power would take away Lin Feng's lifespan. In the end, he would only have 10 years of lifespan left. But now, the crimson-haired woman was closing in on him. Lin Feng didn't have any other choice. Chapter 3764. The operation of the 8-9 mysterious art. It was based on the meridian's reversal. As everyone knew, the operation of the meridians had a specific pattern. Generally speaking, it was rare for the meridians to reverse, because Once the meridians were reversed, the damage to the body would be extremely great. Therefore, this was also the main reason why the 8-9 mysterious art consumed so much of the body. However, how much would be lost in one aspect? In another aspect, how much would be gained? Once the 8-9 mysterious art was operated, the increase in battle strength was naturally significant. A terrifying aura surged in Lin Feng's body. That terrifying aura, it would break out of his body at any time. What kind of supernatural power is this? The blood-haired woman looked at Lin Feng in shock. After feeling the terrifying aura emitted from Lin Feng's body, the blood-haired woman also revealed an expression of disbelief. Because the aura emitted from Lin Feng's body was too powerful, even if it was her. She couldn't believe it. Of course, although Lin Feng's battle strength was greatly improved, the blood-haired woman still didn't take Lin Feng seriously. She was confident in her cultivation, extremely confident. The blood-haired woman used the heaven and earth collapse divine fist to attack Lin Feng. Lin Feng was about to make a move. Suddenly, the void split open. A piece of immortal stone flew out. Back off. An old voice came from the immortal stone. It's the ancestor. Meng Bingling's eyes suddenly lit up. Lin Feng revealed a look of joy. The ancestor that Meng Bingling sealed in the stone unexpectedly appeared at this time. Then, he and Meng Bingling, they should be able to get out of danger. Lin Feng hurriedly withdrew the 8-9 mysterious art. Fortunately, he hadn't really used the 8-9 mysterious art yet, or else the damage to the body would be too great. Lin Feng carried Dream Bingling and quickly retreated. The expert within the immortal stone collided with the crimson-haired woman. Bang! When the attacks of the two terrifying existences collided, an earth-shaking collision was heard. The cultivators within the immortal stones were extremely powerful, even if he had to fight against the blood-haired woman. He was not at a disadvantage at all. Who is he? Lin Feng asked Meng Bingling. It was an extremely ancient ancestor who sealed himself in the stone. However, we descendants are not particularly clear about his specific origins. This ancestor has only awakened in recent years. I didn't expect the ancestor to sense our aura here. The ancestor came just in time. A relieved expression appeared on Meng Bingling's face. The battle between the crimson-haired woman and the self-sealed being in the immortal stone was still ongoing. The battle between the two sides became more and more intense. However, the crimson-haired woman was unable to do anything to the existence within the immortal stone. Whoosh, whoosh. Not long after, several figures flew over. The leader was a middle-aged man. It's a creature that walked out from the endless ghost sand. Many people exclaimed, "Help the ancestor. Let's deal with the crimson-haired woman together." Someone else said, "Many experts of the Genu immortal sect attacked the crimson-haired woman together." When the middle-aged man saw Meng Bingling on Lin Feng's back, he quickly came over. He looked at Meng Bingling with a worried expression. Meng Bingling had fallen into a deep sleep again, so she did not hear the middle-aged man's call. She's injured. A strange corrosive energy has invaded her body, causing her serious injuries. Lin Feng said. The middle-aged man reached out to feel Meng Bingling's pulse, and his expression suddenly changed. "Come with me," he said solemnly. The middle-aged man said solemnly. Lin Feng did not dare hesitate. He followed behind the middle-aged man. Finally, they returned to the Genu Immortal Sect. The Genu Immortal Sect was located in a huge mountain range. There was a huge stone statue in each of the 4 cardinal directions of the Genu Immortal Sect. The stone statues looked like evil spirits. Their faces were ferocious and terrifying. After arriving at the Genu immortal sect, the middle-aged man took Meng Bingling away. At the same time, someone brought Lin Feng to rest. After asking around, Lin Feng learned that the middle-aged man was Meng Bingling's father. Not long after, Immortal Shi and some cultivators of the Genu immortal sect returned. Someone came to inform Lin Feng. The crimson-haired woman left. Lin Feng nodded and asked about Meng Bingling. He learned that she had been sent to the Genu immortal sect's sacred ground to heal. A young girl came to Lin Feng. She was only 16 or 17 years old, very young and had a mischievous look. The girl looked at Lin Feng with a smile and said, "Are you the one who escorted my big sister Bingling back?" Lin Feng did not answer. Instead, he asked, "Who are you? Why do you call her big sister Bingling? She doesn't have any siblings, right? Why are you so stupid? Can't I be big sister Bingling's cousin?" The girl snorted. Lin Feng said, "So that's how it is. What's your name?" "I'm Nailin Shuling. You can call me Shuling," said the girl. "Bingling, Shuling. Even your names are so similar." As expected of sisters, said Lin Feng. "Hee, of course. You still haven't answered my question. Are you the one who risked your life to escort my sister back?" Nailin Shuling continued asking. "Yes, it's me." Lin Feng nodded. "Hee, a hero saving a beauty." Nailin Shuling giggled. At this time, Meng Bingling's father and a few elders came to Lin Feng. Meng Bingling's father had a tall and sturdy figure. Although he was middle-aged, he was still extraordinarily handsome. His name was Meng Tianli. His words carried a lot of weight in the Genu immortal sect. After the old sect master retired, he would definitely become the new sect master. "Uncle," after seeing Meng Tianli, Nailin Shuling nodded. Nailin Shuling bowed to Meng Tianli. Meng Tianli nodded his head. "Senior." Lin Feng cupped his fists. Meng Tianli patted Lin Feng's shoulder and said, "Thank you for bringing my daughter back. You can rest here for a while. Once my daughter's injuries are stabilized, I'll personally thank you when she comes out." Lin Feng said, "Senior, there's no need to be so courteous. This is an agreement between your daughter and I. Since I promised to bring her back, I'll do my best. This junior still has some matters to deal with, so I won't be staying in the Genu immortal sect any longer. This junior plans to leave tomorrow." Meng Tianli said, "Young friend, there's no need to be in such a hurry to leave. I've taken out one of the 3 great treasures of the Genu immortal sect, the Genu immortal stone, for you to study. This stone has many secrets and contains many daos and top-tier abilities. You can study it for a while. It won't be too late to leave when my daughter comes out." Chapter 3765. After seeing the stone, Lin Feng's eyes twitched violently. The origin of the Genu immortal sect. He did not know if it had anything to do with the stone of suppressing prison. However, it was a treasure passed down from such an ancient sect. Its value was naturally unimaginable. Lin Feng said, "All right, since Senior has invited me, this junior will continue to stay in the Genu immortal sect for a few more days. I can also comprehend the extraordinariness of the stone of suppressing prison. Little friend, have a good rest. We'll take our leave first," Meng Tianli said. "Senior, take care," Lin Feng said. "I'll take my leave too. I'll come and see you when I'm free," Nailin Shuling said, waving her hand, and then left with Meng Tianli and the others. After these people left, Lin Feng carried the stone of suppressing prison back. "Stone of suppressing prison. Stone of suppressing prison. I didn't expect it. There's such a thing in the Yang realm," the demon lord said in surprise. "Is the origin of the stone of suppressing prison great?" asked Lin Feng telepathically. "Of course. Suppressing, it's suppressing. Prison, it's hell. Stone of suppressing prison. Do you think the origin of the stone of suppressing prison is great? Hearing this, Lin Feng couldn't help but open his eyes wide. Stone of suppressing prison. Stone of suppressing prison? This origin was indeed too shocking. Stone of suppressing prison. How do you understand this sentence? Lin Feng asked. Hell itself is very special in the underworld. It's a place where the most terrifying undead go. The stone of suppressing prison suppresses hell. To be precise, it suppresses the terrifying undead in hell. The demon lord said, the existence of the stone of suppressing prison prevents the undead from rushing out of the 18 levels of hell. If those undead were to rush out of the 18 levels of hell, it would definitely be a disaster. Since the stone of suppressing prison can suppress the undead in the 18 levels of hell, it's enough to prove that the stone of suppressing prison is extraordinary. And the stone of suppressing prison that can spread out of the underworld is even more extraordinary. You can properly comprehend this stone of suppressing prison and see what secrets it hides. Lin Feng nodded. He then sat down in a lotus position and began to study the stone of purgatory. As time passed, Lin Feng felt that he had formed a special connection with the stone of suppressing prison. Lin Feng felt as if the stone of purgatory had a life of its own. But when Lin Feng wanted to come into contact with the life energy of the stone of suppressing prison, he was shocked. However, he discovered that life aura disappeared without a trace. This made Lin Feng feel very strange. The stone of purgatory was indeed extraordinary and strange. Lin Feng did not give up. He continued to study the stone of purgatory. This time, Lin Feng discovered that he had appeared in a sinister and terrifying world. In this world, it was just like the legendary Hell world. When he came to this world, Lin Feng felt as if his consciousness was about to sink into this world. Boom! In the depths of this world, it emitted an extremely terrifying aura. Then, a great battle seemed to have broken out in the depths. Lin Feng wanted to enter the depths of that world to see what the specific situation was like. However, he tried many times. He had been unable to enter that world. That world was filled with mysteries and unknowns. Not just anyone could enter it. Reversing the 6 paths of reincarnation, I will let you reincarnate. Following that, Lin Feng heard a loud roar. This caused Lin Feng's spirit to suddenly rise. This voice, the content contained within it made one's imagination run wild. Trespasser of the 6 paths of reincarnation, you deserve to be killed. Following that, another voice came out. It seemed to be a creature that protected this world. Lin Feng couldn't help but be extremely shocked because these two existences both spoke of the 6 paths of reincarnation. Lin Feng had seen the 6 paths of reincarnation before, but the real 6 paths of reincarnation, Lin Feng had never seen it before. 6 paths referred to the heavenly path, human path, Azura path, beast path, hungry ghost path, and hell path. Reincarnation referred to reincarnation. 6 paths of reincarnation meant that after death, one would be reincarnated as one of the 6 paths of heavenly path, human path, Azura path, beast path, hungry ghost path, and hell path. However, the 6 paths of reincarnation had always been a legend, because a person's death was like a lamp going out. The soul would gradually dissipate. Only some extremely powerful cultivators would have their souls trapped in hell, but it was said that they didn't have a good ending. Most of their souls were eaten by some terrifying creatures in hell. As for reincarnation, of course there was such a thing. As far as the current situation was concerned, the reincarnation that Lin Feng knew of wasn't reincarnation through the 6 paths of reincarnation. Instead, it was some extremely powerful cultivators. They had cultivated some extremely powerful corpse dismemberment techniques when they were alive, when their bodies died due to external forces, but their lifespan was still extremely long. To be able to borrow this corpse dismemberment technique, to undergo reincarnation, their souls would enter the minds of some babies that were being nurtured to sleep. Until the moment they woke up, they would remember everything that had happened. As for the legend of the 6 paths of reincarnation, it was too fleeting. The battle deep inside seemed to be getting more and more intense. Scam. It's actually a shocking scam. Suddenly, the cultivator, who said, "Even if I reverse the 6 paths of reincarnation, I'll let you reincarnate," roared in anger. He seemed to have noticed something unusual. Die. The creature that protected this world attacked with all its might, wanting to erase that existence. In the end, a stone of suppressing prison was used by those creatures. With the stone of suppressing prison's attack, that cultivator couldn't resist. In the end, he was suppressed. However, the stone of suppressing prison was stained with that cultivator's blood. After the stone of suppressing prison fused with that cultivator's blood, it underwent an extremely strange change. Something terrifying happened just like that. The stone of suppressing prison was no longer under the control of the creature that protected this world. The stone of suppressing prison broke through the void of space. It rushed outside. Lin Feng saw the stone of suppressing prison rushing out. The stone of suppressing prison was stained with blood. It seemed to be the blood of that mysterious existence that was killed. A terrifying creature chased after the stone of suppressing prison, but the stone of suppressing prison still managed to escape. At this time, Lin Feng woke up. Those scenes, could they be scenes that happened in hell? Thinking of the scenes he saw and the sounds he heard, Lin Feng couldn't help but reveal an extremely shocked expression. He quickly got up and came to the side of the stone of suppressing prison, carefully observing the traces on the stone of suppressing prison. This is blood, dry blood. Finally, Lin Feng saw traces of blood on the stone of suppressing prison. But the blood had already dried up. This stone of suppressing prison was the one that mutated after killing that mysterious combatant and escaped from hell, right? Were these traces of blood left on the stone of suppressing prison after the blood dried up? Chapter 3766. This is the stone of suppressing prison. I've seen it before. At this moment, the supreme demon Iron's voice resounded in Lin Feng's mind. Whoosh! There was a flash of light. The supreme demon Iron flew out. This guy had been cultivating in seclusion in the Mountain River Ring. There had been no movement for a long time. No one knew when he had woken up. "You've seen this stone of suppressing prison?" Lin Feng asked in surprise. "Of course." The supreme demon Iron nodded and slammed into the stone of suppressing prison. The stone of suppressing prison was knocked aside by the supreme demon Iron. "What are you doing?" Lin Feng looked at the supreme demon Iron in confusion. The supreme demon Iron said, "You don't know? This guy is not simple. In fact, this stone of suppressing prison contains a rock spirit." "What? Contains a rock spirit? Is this true?" Lin Feng asked in surprise. He suddenly remembered that he had sensed a trace of life from the stone of suppressing prison not long ago. However, that trace of life disappeared in an instant. When Lin Feng sensed it again, he couldn't sense it anymore. Now, the supreme demon Iron said that the stone of suppressing prison contained a rock spirit. In other words, the stone of suppressing prison was alive. His previous senses were not wrong. The supreme demon Iron said, "Of course! I'm 100% sure that this stone of suppressing prison really contains a rock spirit. Back then, I trained with this guy." Lin Feng was speechless. "Hey, say something. Don't put on an act for me. Otherwise, believe it or not, I'll smash you into pieces." The The supreme demon Iron said coldly. However, the stone of suppressing prison still did not move. The supreme demon Iron sneered. Others may not know your weakness, but do you think I don't know? I'll smash you into pieces now. The supreme demon Iron said and attacked the stone of suppressing prison. The stone of suppressing prison dodged the supreme demon Iron's attack. Then a cold voice came from the stone of suppressing prison. Humph, shameless guy, you're still alive? Hearing the stone of suppressing prison's words, Lin Feng was shocked. The stone of suppressing prison really had a stone spirit. Lin Feng reckoned that even the genuine immortal sect didn't know about it. You're not dead yet, so of course I won't die. Supreme Demon Iron sneered. Then it sneered, but you don't seem to be doing well. You actually became the cultivation stone of a sect in the mortal world. How shameful, how shameful. If I tell others that I know you, I'll feel ashamed. The supreme demon Iron had a poisonous tongue. Therefore, this guy's mouth was quite despicable. The words he said were enough to bury people to death. The stone of suppressing prison was also enraged. It retorted coldly, "You still have the nerve to talk about me? At the very least, I have a sect with a long history behind me. What about you?" She actually followed an immortal emperor brat. If we're talking about shame, who's more shameful? Supreme Demon Iron sneered and said, "I said you were ignorant and inexperienced, but you didn't believe me. Do you know who this young master is? He's a descendant of the sovereign clan and Lin Qi." The stone of suppressing prison was also shocked. However, it soon sneered and said, "So what? If he can't grow, no matter what his background is, he'll still die young in the future. I've seen many geniuses like him. Don't be too proud. When the time comes, it might be time for you to cry." Supreme Demon Iron sneered after hearing the stone of suppressing prison's words. "This is the difference between you and me. My future is full of hope. If I give it my all, I might be able to defy the heavens. However, your future is destined to be like a frog in a well, waiting for death. I'd like to see what makes you think you can say that to me." The stone of suppressing prison sneered and charged at Supreme Demon Iron. "Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Supreme Demon Iron sneered and charged at the stone of suppressing prison. Bang! 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 The stone of suppressing prison and Supreme Demon Iron collided again and again. Every time they collided, the earth trembled. The void was about to crack. Lin Feng quickly sealed the void to prevent the energy from leaking out. After the two of them collided for hundreds of times, each of them seemed to have lost all their strength. They all fell to the ground, motionless. Ha ha ha! Suddenly, the two of them burst out laughing. The stone of suppressing prison said, "It's good to see you alive." Supreme Demon Iron said, "Yes, I hope we can continue to live." Lin Feng was stupefied. He looked at the Supreme Demon Iron and the oppressive prison stone. They had been fighting to the death a moment before. However, in the blink of an eye, they became good brothers. Lin Feng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In the future, follow the young master. Supreme Demon Iron said, "In the past, I had some ties with the suppressing prison immortal sect. I promised to stay and guard the sect." Stone of suppressing prison said, "How many years have you stayed here?" Supreme Demon Iron asked, "I've forgotten. If you hadn't woken me up, I might still be asleep." Stone of suppressing prison said. Supreme Demon Iron said, "Old friend, you've been guarding the suppressing prison immortal sect for too long. It's time for you to change your way of living. The 5 signs of heavenly decay have appeared. Even if we're special life forms, we might die in the end of the epic. If we follow the young master, it'll be different. When the young master soars, we'll follow him." Stone of suppressing prison said, I can't answer you now. Let me think about it. Supreme Demon Iron said, You're hesitating because you can't be sure of the young master's future, right? Actually, there's no need for that. If there's someone who's most likely to survive in this epoch, I'll definitely choose the young master. Stone of Suppressing Prison sneered. How many years until the end of the epoch? What level will the kid's cultivation be when the epoch is destroyed? A sovereign, a sage emperor, an imperial lord, even an immortal wouldn't dare to say that he'll survive the end of the epoch. Where did you get the courage to say these words? Supreme Demon Iron said, There are 4 reasons. First, the young master is an extremely rare person with a heaven-defying destiny. The fact that the young master has cultivated 3,000 types of grand Daos proves this point. Second, the young master's ancestors are too extraordinary. The ancestors of the Sovereign Emperor clan and the experts of Lin Chi's bloodline will secretly protect the young master. Third, the young master's bloodline is very powerful. Apart from the Sovereign Emperor bloodline and the Undying bloodline, he also has the even more powerful Destiny bloodline. Chapter 3767. After hearing the Supreme Demon Iron's words, the Stone of Suppressing Prison fell silent. The Stone of Suppressing Prison knew that the Supreme Demon Iron would not lie to it. Lin Feng was indeed an extraordinary person. Following such a person, in the future, it was very likely that he could really soar into the sky. However, the Stone of Suppressing Prison was different from the Supreme Demon Iron. The Supreme Demon Iron's heart was burning. It yearned to become stronger and stronger, yearning to live to the next era. However, what about the Stone of Suppressing Prison? It had been asleep for too long, and its inner world had long lost its sharpness. It did things. It was always overcautious. It would think a lot of things. And the things it was thinking about were obviously the important factors that prevented it from immediately agreeing to the Supreme Demon Iron. I still need to think about it. The Stone of Suppressing Prison said, All right, I'll give you a few days. Think about it carefully. The Supreme Demon Iron said. It did not press him step by step. This would be counterproductive. Lin Feng also felt that he could not force it too much at this time. If the Stone of Suppressing Prison could submit to him, then it would be a great harvest. The Stone of Suppressing Prison was an existence that suppressed countless evil spirits in hell back then. With the Stone of Suppressing Prison by his side, he would encounter terrifying creatures from hell in the future. He would no longer need to fear those terrifying existences. 3 days later, Nayland Shuling once again came to Lin Feng's place. Nayland Shuling looked at Lin Feng with a smile and said, Did you know? I heard that sister has woken up. Oh, the ice fairy has woken up. That's great. How is her body? Lin Feng could not help but ask. It seems that she hasn't recovered yet. She needs to continue healing. The first thing my sister did when she woke up was to ask where you were. It seems that my sister is very concerned about you. Nayland Shuling said with a smile. Lin Feng said, After all, we've gone through thick and thin together. We can be considered friends. It's very normal to care about a friend. Nayland Shuling said, But I feel that sister doesn't care about you like a normal friend. Do you think sister has fallen in love with you? Will you become my brother-in-law in the future? Lin Feng was speechless. This mischievous girl really dared to say anything. She dared to ask anything. I forgot to ask you for your name when I left last time. Can you tell me now? Nayland Shuling asked. G. You can call me G. Lin Feng said. Why don't I call you Brother G? Nayland Shuling's big, watery eyes immediately narrowed into crescents. Lin Feng nodded and said, Of course. Don't you usually cultivate? You seem to have a lot of time to wander around. Of course, I have to cultivate, but I have to strike a balance between work and rest. Nayland Shuling said with a grin. She stayed at Lin Feng's place for a while before leaving. The next day, Nayland Shuling once again came to Lin Feng's place. It seems that there are guests, and they are extremely important guests. My second grandpa, uncle, and the others have all gone to receive them. Nayland Shuling said. The second grandpa she mentioned was the sect master of the Genu Immortal Sect. Who are they? Do you know who they are? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. I'm not too sure about that either. Nayland Shuling said. In the afternoon, dozens of guards came to Lin Feng's place. Lin Feng felt a chill from these guards. They were the guards of the Genu Immortal Sect. Lin Feng had never felt this coldness before. Before this, the people of the Genu Immortal Sect had always been very friendly to him. But now, for some reason, they seemed to have changed their attitude towards him. This change in attitude made Lin Feng feel that something was very wrong. What is the meaning of this? Lin Feng asked. The sect master is worried that young master will be in danger, so he sent us to protect young master. The guard commander said. Lin Feng sneered in his heart. This was the Genu Immortal Sect. How could he be in danger? This person used such words to brush him off. Did he think he was a fool? I want to see Senior Meng Tianli. Lin Feng said in a deep voice. Okay, we will help young master report. Young master, go back and cultivate for the time being. When we get the news, we will immediately come back to inform young master. The guard commander said. Lin Feng frowned, but finally nodded. He returned to his residence, but the courtyard was already sealed off. It was obviously unrealistic to want to escape, because even if he broke through the current line of defense, the higher-ups of the Genu Immortal Sect would know. Lin Feng could ignore the other people of the Genu Immortal Sect. However, Lin Feng couldn't ignore the terrifying existence in the Immortal Stone. That existence was simply too powerful. It seems that the Genu Immortal Sect wants to attack young master. The supreme demon Iron was very angry. It looked at the Genu Immortal Stone and said, young master risked his life to escort the saintess back to the Genu Immortal Sect, but in the end, he was repaid with enmity. This is the Genu Immortal Sect that you are protecting. The Genu Immortal Stone said. Everything is just your guess. You can't be sure. So don't be so sure. Lin Feng said indifferently, perhaps they already know my identity, so they want to attack me. However, I have never had any grudges with the Genu Immortal Sect, so it must be those guests who are causing trouble. The Genu Immortal Stone was silent. It didn't say anything, but it was waiting. Perhaps there would be a turn for the better. The next day, Lin Feng found the guard commander and asked, can you report my request to see Senior Meng Tianli? The guard commander said, it has already been reported, but the Lord has important matters to attend to, so he can't leave now. The Lord told young master to be patient and wait for a few days. During this time, young master can continue to enter the Genu Immortal Sect. I want to see Meng Bingling. She should have awakened, right? Lin Feng said in a deep voice. The saintess has indeed awakened, but she is in seclusion. If you want to see her, you will have to wait. The guard commander said. At this point, Lin Feng already knew that no matter what he said, the other party wouldn't satisfy him. Now, Lin Feng was certain that he was under house arrest by the Genu Immortal Sect. This made Lin Feng extremely depressed. He returned with a gloomy expression. Big factions don't have anything good. You only care about benefits. The supreme demon Iron scolded. The Genu Immortal Stone remained silent. In the afternoon, Nayland Shuling came to see Lin Feng, but she was stopped. Lin Feng saw Nayland Shuling from afar. She wanted to force her way in, but a group of people flew over from afar. Lin Feng saw Meng Bingling among them. Chapter 3768. When he saw Meng Bingling, Lin Feng's expression turned gloomy. Meng Bingling had appeared. He had risked his life to send her back to the Genu Immortal sect, but now she knew that he had been imprisoned. She had actually ignored him. Lin Feng suddenly felt a bone-piercing coldness. The human heart was truly unpredictable. In the face of absolute benefits, one could betray anything, even their conscience. Even so, Lin Feng turned and returned to his residence. There was no need for him to continue watching. Meng Bingling was very beautiful. However, in Lin Feng's eyes, she had a heart as venomous as a snake. Supreme Demon Iron said, "Is that Meng Bingling? She's as beautiful as a fairy. No wonder young master would risk his life to escort her back." Lin Feng rolled his eyes and kicked Supreme Demon Iron away. "I escorted her back because of my agreement with her. It's not because of her looks. A man's word is worth 1,000 gold. If I don't even keep my promise, what kind of man am I?" Supreme Demon Iron grinned. "I was just joking. Young master, please don't get angry." Lin Feng said, "I won't get angry. However, I've gained a better understanding of the human heart. Look at those guards. They're only showing their strength on the surface. I can vaguely sense that there are experts lurking in the dark. They've locked onto my residence. If I dare to do anything strange, I won't be able to escape their senses." Supreme Demon Iron said, "Young master, you've grasped the Tao of space, but you still can't leave silently? It's difficult. It's almost impossible. They've set up detection restrictions in the surroundings. In addition, those experts have sealed the void with their divine senses. Even if I use the spatial travel technique recorded in the Tao of space, I should still be discovered by them." Lin Feng said, "However, we can't just sit here and wait for death. Otherwise, only death awaits us. If there's really no other way, we'll have to force our way through. Although the existence in the immortal stone is very terrifying if we don't try, how can we be sure that we won't be able to escape?" Supreme Demon Iron's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. This was a matter of life and death. The fate of the Supreme Demon Iron had long been intertwined with that of Lin Feng. If Lin Feng died, the Supreme Demon Iron would also die. Lin Feng said, "It seems that this is the only way. Let's make our move tonight." Supreme Devil Iron looked at the suppressing prison stone and said, "Is this suppressing prison immortal sect the same as the one in your heart? What are your plans?" Lin Feng was already prepared to attack the stone of suppressing prison at any time. The Supreme Demon Iron knew where the weakness of the stone of suppressing prison was. Now that it was a matter of life and death, the stone of suppressing prison already knew about tonight's breakout. Therefore, he planned to join forces with the Supreme Demon Iron to destroy the stone of suppressing prison. Of course, if the oppressive prison stone agreed to submit to him, Lin Feng wouldn't destroy it. The human heart is the most unpredictable in this world. This saying is indeed true. I've decided to follow this young master from now on, just like you," the stone of confinement said. Hearing that, Lin Feng's face lit up with joy. He said, "My name is Lin Feng. Let's get to know each other formally." Stone of suppressing prison. "Greetings, young master. From now on, the stone of suppressing prison is willing to follow you to death. If I break my oath, the stone of suppressing prison will die a horrible death." The stone of suppressing prison swore. After the stone of suppressing prison swore, Lin Feng felt a mysterious connection between him and the stone of suppressing prison. That connection, it was a spiritual connection. Lin Feng knew, from now on, the stone of suppressing prison, it would never betray him again. Lin Feng said, "All right, I accept your loyalty. If I, Lin Feng, can rule the world one day. I will definitely not treat you unfairly. Thank you, young master. The stone of suppressing prison thanked him. Then the stone of suppressing prison continued, Young master, there's one more thing I want to tell you. What is it? Lin Feng asked. The stone of suppressing prison said, This subordinate knows how to deceive the heavens and leave this place. After hearing the stone of suppressing prison's words, Lin Feng's eyes immediately lit up. The supreme demon, Iron, could not help but become excited and said, Quickly tell me, how can we leave this place? The stone of suppressing prison said, I was originally the devil stone guarding the core of the suppressing prison immortal realm. However, the descendants of the suppressing prison immortal sect didn't seem to know the mysteries of the suppressing prison immortal realm and actually moved me out. I am in the core of the immortal realm, and the speed at which the immortal realm absorbs immortal chi and fate will be dozens of times faster. This way, we can nurture more top experts for the immortal sect. However, after these people moved me out, it was destined that the immortal realm would fall from its peak to its decline. My mind is connected to the immortal realm. I can communicate with the immortal realm. Then I can bring everyone into the immortal realm. When the time comes, these people will only sense that there are fluctuations in the immortal realm, but they will not suspect that we have already left this place. Once we enter the Genu immortal realm, we can leave the Genu immortal sect. The stone of suppressing prison said. Excellent. Lin Feng nodded. The heavens would never bar one's way. However, before we enter the immortal realm, we need to use a seal to completely seal off the courtyard where we are staying. Then we need to isolate the outside world from sensing what is inside. The stone of suppressing prison said. Lin Feng said, I will set up the seal. Thank you for your trouble, young master. The stone of suppressing prison said. Lin Feng said, No problem. Then Lin Feng began to set up the seal. He used a powerful seal to completely seal off the courtyard where they were staying. If the enemy wanted to break through the seal, it would take at least 3 to 5 days. Then the stone of suppressing prison began to communicate with the immortal realm. Soon, the immortal realm was connected to the immortal realm. In the void above the courtyard, a distorted vortex appeared. When the vortex appeared, the void above the Genu immortal sect began to shake violently. Many people could not help but be alarmed. Lin Feng and the others entered the immortal realm through the vortex. What happened? In the meeting hall, many of the immortal sect's higher-ups gathered. After feeling the violent fluctuations outside, Meng Tianli asked with a gloomy expression, Reporting to the Lord, there are fluctuations in the immortal realm. We don't know what happened, but now we have sent people into the immortal realm to check it out. An elder came in and reported, Good, you may leave. Meng Tianli waved his hand and said, There is no time to lose. Do it now. Kill Lin Feng. At this time, a cultivator in a black robe said. His voice was eerie and terrifying. This person was not just anyone. Chapter 37:69. The Grand Tao Honorable Lord was a living being that transcended eras. The power behind him. He had a blood feud with the Sovereign Emperor clan. In order to train his disciple, Tu Lu, the Grand Honorable Lord sent Tu Lu to deal with Lin Feng. Actually, Tu Lu didn't know Lin Feng's whereabouts at first. However, someone had been sending messages by Crane, telling him Lin Feng's whereabouts. Tu Lu chased after him. In the end, he chased him to the Genu Immortal sect. When Tu Lu revealed his identity, the people of the Genu Immortal sect were very respectful towards Tu Lu. They naturally wanted to establish a relationship with Tu Lu. After all, Tu Lu came from a race that transcended eras. He had the method to successfully survive the era's destruction. The people of the Genu Immortal sect wanted to obtain this method from Tu Lu. They would naturally listen to whatever Tu Lu said. Moreover, after knowing Lin Feng's identity, the people of the Genu Immortal sect were also very surprised. They didn't expect this cultivator, who called himself Ji. He was the famous Lin Feng. It was widely rumored that Lin Feng had too many treasures and too many secrets. Therefore, even without Tu Lu's matter, after knowing Lin Feng's true identity, the people of the Genu Immortal sect, they all wanted to attack Lin Feng. In this world, don't talk about gratitude. The most in this world was ruthlessness. Good. Let's kill Lin Feng now. Meng Tianli stood up and said. Tu Lu and his group of followers also stood up. I'll go meet this kid, Tu Lu said. No problem. Meng Tianli nodded. Meng Tianli looked at Meng Bingling and said, stay here. Just wait for the news. Yes, father. Meng Bingling replied. The group left the hall and came to the courtyard where Lin Feng lived. Sir, you're here. Seeing Meng Tianli's arrival, the guard commander quickly trotted over and saluted Meng Tianli. Meng Tianli asked, Is there any movement inside? The guard commander said, There's no movement at all. Open the gate. Let's go in and kill this kid. Meng Tianli ordered. This subordinate will do it right away, the guard commander said. Then, he went there personally. He opened the door to the courtyard. At this moment, a terrifying aura gushed out from the courtyard. Die! A deep voice resounded between heaven and earth. A gigantic spirit god was formed. The gigantic spirit god wielded a huge axe and slashed at the guard commander, who opened the gate. After sensing the terrifying aura of the attack, the guard commander's expression changed greatly. He wanted to retreat quickly to avoid this terrifying attack, but it was too late to dodge. The axe in Juling Shun's hand directly split him into two halves. Restriction. This kid had set up a restriction. Damn it! After seeing this scene, Meng Tianli's face was gloomy. Tu Lu said, It's only fun this way. If we go in directly and kill Lin Feng, it'll be boring. I'll be the one to break this restriction. I'll kill Lin Feng personally and bring his head to my master. After Tu Lu finished speaking, he took the initiative to walk toward the restriction. This person was extremely confident in himself. As for Lin Feng, he did not care about him at all. His goal was to kill Lin Feng. Now that he had this opportunity, naturally, he wanted to do it personally. Only then would he feel a sense of accomplishment. While Tu Lu was breaking the restriction, Lin Feng and the others had already entered the Genu Immortal Realm. The Genu Immortal Realm was a self-contained space. It was extremely huge and belonged to the Genu Immortal sect. Therefore, there were very few cultivators who could enter the Genu Immortal Realm to cultivate. Hurry up and leave this place. I don't want to stay here for a second longer. Supreme Demon, Iron couldn't help but cry out loudly. The Stone of Genu said, There's no hurry. There's still something good in the Genu Immortal Realm that might be useful to you. Before we leave, we can take it with us. Lin Feng asked curiously, What is it? The Stone of Genu said, The heart of all evil. Supreme Demon, Iron cried out in surprise. The heart of all evil? The Genu Immortal sect has something like that. The heart of all evil? What the hell is that? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. It was something like that. This was the first time he had heard of it. The Stone of Genu said, The heart of all evil is said to be a heart formed by the origin of all evil between heaven and earth. It's an extremely terrifying heart. It's said to be able to continuously absorb the evil energy between heaven and earth. Once you obtain the heart of all evil, it's equivalent to obtaining a heart that can continuously increase your cultivation. There's such a thing? Lin Feng could not help but be shocked. if he could refine the heart of all evil, wouldn't that mean that he would be cultivating even when he was sleeping? The stone of suppressing prison said, the heart of all evil's uses aren't limited to just this. It has many other unimaginable abilities, but as for what kind of heaven-defying abilities it has, even I don't know, even I can't explain all of them. However, although the heart of all evil is heaven-defying, it's not without side effects. What side effects? Lin Feng asked curiously. The heart of all evil is extremely evil, and it has its own consciousness. It's said that many cultivators who tried to refine the heart of all evil not only failed to gain control of it, but they were also enslaved by the heart of all evil in the end. Lin Feng frowned. The heart of all evil was indeed a terrifying ability. He had to be wary of it. He said, no matter what, let's get the heart of all evil first. As for whether we can refine it or not, that's a matter for the future. Where is the heart of all evil? Bring me there quickly. Yes, young master. Young master, please follow me quickly. The stone of Genyu said. Lin Feng followed behind the stone of Genyu and quickly flew in a certain direction. The supreme demon iron said, this heart of all evil should be very difficult to subdue, right? The stone of Genyu said, the heart of all evil is currently suppressed in the depths of a mountain range. Given your methods, you should be able to subdue it. The Genyu immortal realm was a large space. Lin Feng, the stone of Genyu, and the supreme demon iron flew for 2 hours before they arrived at the mountain range mentioned by the stone of Genyu. The mountain range was emitting a powerful evil energy. The evil energy was the energy emitted by the heart of all evil. It's the cave in front, the stone of Genyu said. Lin Feng looked over and saw a huge cave with a large amount of evil energy. It was gushing out of the cave in front of him. Lin Feng and the supreme demon iron followed the stone of Genyu into the cave. In the depths of the cave, a heart the size of a fist was wrapped into an iron ball by numerous chains. 4 chains extended out and pierced through the 4 corners of the cave. Those chains were covered in runes, which directly sealed the heart. However, the power of the heart was too great. Chapter 3770 is that the heart of all evil. Lin Feng looked at the sealed heart and took a deep breath. That's right, young master. That's the heart of all evil. However, you must be careful. The heart of all evil is incomparably evil. You must be extremely careful when sealing it. Otherwise, it'll be very dangerous. The stone of suppression warned. I know. Lin Feng nodded. Then, he flew toward the heart of all evil. At that moment, the heart of all evil seemed to sense something. A large amount of special energy escaped from the heart of all evil. Lin Feng was enveloped by the special energy. When he sensed the special energy, Lin Feng immediately felt a strange energy invading his mind. In the next moment, Lin Feng fell into an illusion. In front of him was a lush green grassland. The surrounding trees provided shade. A beautiful woman was standing not far away from him. The beautiful woman was none other than Meng Bingling. She was as beautiful as a fairy from the 9 heavens. Her beauty was a kind of beauty that made people stunned. Anyone who saw her face would yearn for it. Don't you hate her? That be *TCH used you. You risked your life to escort her back to the sect, but now her sect wants to repay your kindness with enmity and kill you for their own benefits. She knew all this, but she silently agreed to it. *TCH, like her can't be left alive. Pick up the weapon in your hand, rush over, and stab her to death. A gentle and seductive voice resounded in Lin Feng's mind. When Lin Feng heard the voice, he felt the killing intent in his heart increase. The anger in his heart burned fiercely. Meng Bingling had disappointed Lin Feng too much. Lin Feng even wanted to kill her. Lin Feng lowered his head and looked at his hands. He didn't know when, but a sharp blade had appeared in his hands. Lin Feng's eyes flashed with a vicious light as he walked towards Meng Bingling. He wanted to stab the dream ice spirit to death. But halfway through, Lin Feng felt that something was wrong. However, he didn't know what was wrong. Lin Feng's willpower was strong, but he was also completely mesmerized by the current illusion. At this moment, Luya's star chart in Lin Feng's mind started to circulate by itself. Some heaven-defying divine abilities. It could take the initiative to protect its master. Luya's star chart observation was a divine ability of this level. Now that Luya's star chart was automatically activated, Lin Feng's originally confused consciousness was instantly pulled back to reality. When Lin Feng woke up, Lin Feng realized that his back was soaked with sweat. The scene just now was too realistic. The heart of all evil caused him to fall into an illusion. Lin Feng guessed. The person who killed Meng Bingling in the illusion wasn't Meng Bingling, but himself. Some terrifying illusions were like this. In the illusion, when someone who thought they were the enemy was killed. Actually, the person who killed was himself. Thinking about the scene in the illusion, now, Lin Feng still felt a lingering fear. The heart of all evil was simply too terrifying. It had actually seen through a flaw in his heart and pulled him into the illusion it had created. Amazing, really amazing. You actually managed to walk out of the illusion I created. Kid, I see that your talent is extraordinary. You have great potential. I've decided to give you a chance to soar into the sky and dominate the heavens. However, whether you can seize this chance or not depends on how you choose. The heart of all evil's voice was still filled with temptation. It was extremely good at using the desires in the hearts of others to talk to them. This way, it could take the initiative. Lin Feng sneered. It's useless. No matter how glib your tongue is, I won't believe a single word of yours. You're destined to become my supply. I'll seal you first, then find a chance to refine you. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Feng immediately used the 8 divine seals. Numerous runes flew out and fused together in the void. They turned into divine runes. Those divine runes contained terrifying fluctuations that could destroy the heavens and earth. Those runes were all the sealing runes formed by the 8 divine seals. They were extremely powerful. Streaks of sealing runes shot toward the heart of all evil. Kid, you want to seal me? You're delusional. The heart of all evil sneered. A large amount of evil energy surged out from the heart of all evil. That evil strength moved towards Lin Feng and enveloped him. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He punched out with the supreme reincarnation fist. Instantly, the evil energy was dispersed by Lin Feng's punch. Next, the runes formed by the 8 divine seals wrapped around the heart of all evil. The dense array runes intertwined with each other, completely entangling the heart of all evil. Kid, let go of me. Kid, if you don't let go of me, I'll make you die a horrible death. The heart of all evil struggled and roared. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He activated the Great Suppression Art, one of the 3,000 great Das. A suppress word was formed. The suppress word flew out. It directly suppressed the heart of all evil. The heart of all evil, which had been struggling and roaring incessantly, suddenly became motionless. The 8 divine seals and the Great Suppression Art were extremely powerful techniques. When these 2 techniques were used together, the power was even more shocking. Even the heart of all evil was suppressed. Lin Feng immediately took out the black dragon sword. He held the black dragon sword in his hand and slashed at the chains. Clang, 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 clang. the black dragon sword slashed at the chains. Instantly, the chains that wrapped around the heart of all evil were cut off by Lin Feng's black dragon sword. Lin Feng kept the sealed heart of all evil into his mountain river ring. Success. Let's go, Lin Feng said in a deep voice. Follow me. The suppressing prison stone said, and took the lead to rush out. When Lin Feng took the heart of all evil, a huge universal mirror in the genuine mortal sect's sacred palace sensed something. It shone at the place where the heart of all evil was originally sealed. At this moment, the heart of all evil was gone. Someone stole the heart of all evil. The mysterious existence in the immortal stone was cultivating in the sacred palace. When it saw this scene, its expression turned ugly. Whoosh! There was a flash of light. The immortal stone disappeared without a trace. Under the suppressing prison stone's lead, Lin Feng and the supreme demon Iron arrived at the northwest corner of the genuine mortal realm. Break the spatial crystal wall, and we can get out, the suppressing prison stone said. Breaking the spatial crystal wall was very easy for it. However, just as the suppressing prison stone was about to act, a terrifying aura surged out from the void. Chapter 3771. Be careful! Lin Feng couldn't help but shout. He hurriedly took action to block the terrifying power that was coming towards him. When that terrifying attack was about to hit Lin Feng, Lin Feng's expression changed. Lin Feng opened his hand. He slapped out with his palm. Bang! Following a violent collision, Lin Feng was sent flying. The supreme demon Iron and the stone of suppressing prison were also sent flying, just like Lin Feng. Who's there? Lin Feng shouted with a gloomy expression. The newcomer was definitely an extremely terrifying existence. Whoosh! There was a flash of light. A huge immortal stone flew out. When Lin Feng saw this existence, his expression turned extremely ugly. Back then, this terrifying existence was evenly matched with the crimson-haired woman. From this, one could tell how terrifying this existence's cultivation was. Previously, Lin Feng was worried that he would encounter this terrifying existence when escaping from the genuine mortal sect. However, who would have thought that he still couldn't hide from this terrifying existence? This was going to be troublesome. The stone of suppressing prison has a spirit. This is really unexpected. The terrifying existence's voice was cold. The stone of suppressing prison said, "It's you people who are stupid and kept in the dark." The terrifying existence said coldly, "Stone of suppressing prison, are you rebelling? Do you know what will happen to you?" "Hee, I won't be threatened by you." The stone of suppressing prison replied with a cold smile. "I'll suppress you later." The terrifying existence's voice was cold. Then, a large amount of destructive power surged out from the immortal stone. The immortal light seemed to condense into an illusory world, trapping Lin Feng, the stone of suppressing prison, and the supreme demon Iron in that illusory world. This terrifying existence was simply too powerful. Lin Feng knew that even if he joined forces with the stone of suppressing prison and the supreme demon Iron, they would still be no match for this existence. Therefore, at this moment, Lin Feng's expression was extremely ugly. "Don't worry, young master. This guy is powerful, but in the genuine mortal realm, he can't do anything," the stone of suppressing prison said. Hearing this, Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. It seemed like the stone of purgatory's control over the purgatory immortal realm was extraordinary. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and get rid of this guy," Supreme Demon Iron shouted. The prison suppressing stone rolled its eyes and said, "His cultivation is so strong. How could it be so easy to kill him? However, I can temporarily trap him." As soon as he finished speaking, the stone of suppression began to chant an incantation. Crash! Crash! When the stone of imprisonment finished its incantation, the sound of chains colliding could be heard. Numerous chains appeared in the void. Those chains, they were all chains formed from order laws. Those chains were originally the chains of order of the Genu immortal realm, but the stone of Genu could control them. Those chains of order interweaved into a huge net, directly enveloping the immortal stone. The attack from the immortal stone was blocked by the net formed by the chains of order. Suppressing prison stone, you traitor! You deserve to die 1,000 times over. The terrifying existence within the immortal stone roared furiously. The stone of suppression did not care about the curse of the terrifying existence within the immortal stone and quickly went to break the crystal wall. Lin Feng sneered and said, "Your Genu immortal sect is a bunch of ingrates biting the hand that feeds you. As the saying goes, the cycle of karma, good and evil will be repaid. You've done too many bad things, and you'll suffer retribution sooner or later. Kid, this is a world where the strong preys on the weak. What cycle of karma, good and evil will be repaid?" The terrifying existence within the immortal stone could not help but laugh coldly. His expression was indifferent, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Lin Feng sneered and said, "Just you wait. When my cultivation increases, I'll tear your Genu immortal sect apart." Crack! Crack! At this moment, the stone of suppression successfully broke the crystal wall of the Genu immortal realm. "Young master, we can go now," the stone of suppression said. Lin Feng nodded, without stopping. Together with the stone of suppression and supreme demon iron, they quickly rushed out. By the time the terrifying existence within the immortal stone had broken through the stone of suppressing prison's net of laws of order and escaped, Lin Feng and the others had already disappeared without a trace. "Damn it! Damn it!" The terrifying existence roared angrily. He directly traveled through the void and left the Genu immortal realm. The next time he appeared, he was outside Lin Feng's courtyard. At this moment, Tu Lu was breaking the restrictions set up by Lin Feng. "Old ancestor, why are you here?" Seeing the existence within the immortal stone, Meng Tianli quickly went forward and bowed. The terrifying existence within the immortal stone said coldly, "That kid has already escaped. Issue a warrant for his arrest. We must catch him." "What? He already escaped?" Meng Tianli exclaimed in disbelief. Everyone around could not help but be shocked, especially the cultivators who were monitoring Lin Feng. They did not see Lin Feng escape. Tu Lu, who was breaking the restriction, could not help but stop. The terrifying existence within the immortal stone said, "The stone of suppression has a spirit, and it sought refuge with that kid. With the help of the stone of suppression, that kid escaped with his life." Hearing the terrifying existence within the immortal stone's words, the crowd finally understood how Lin Feng had managed to escape. Even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground, you must find that kid. The terrifying existence within the immortal stone's voice was filled with monstrous killing intent. "Yes, this junior will immediately issue a warrant for his arrest." Meng Tianli did not dare hesitate and quickly went to issue a warrant for Lin Feng's arrest. After leaving the Genu immortal sect, the supreme demon iron and the stone of suppression temporarily returned to the mountain river ring. Lin Feng planned to find a place to cultivate in seclusion. His main goal was to refine the heart of all evil. If Lin Feng managed to absorb the heart of evil, his fighting abilities would increase tremendously. At that time, he might be able to grasp many of the unimaginable abilities of the heart of all evil. Of course, Lin Feng knew that he needed to find a safe place to refine the heart of all evil. He was still relatively close to the Genu immortal sect. Therefore, he had to quickly leave this place. 3 days later, Lin Feng arrived at a small town. Lin Feng learned that the genuine immortal sect had issued a warrant for his arrest. Suddenly Lin Feng's pupils shrank. He saw Zi Yuan. In addition to Zi Yuan, there were also a few black-robed cultivators. Let's go. After seeing those people, Lin Feng did not hesitate and turned to leave. Hey, isn't that Lin Feng? A black-robed cultivator sneered. He's the target of the Grand Tao Honorable Lord. The Grand Tao Honorable Lord has already sent Tu Lu to kill him. It seems that Tu Lu hasn't succeeded yet. Another black-robed cultivator sneered. At that moment, Honorable Lord Yuan Tian said, "Lei Mo, go and bring this brat back. I want to use this kid to make a deal with the Grand Tao Honorable Lord." "Yes, this subordinate will go and capture that kid." A black-robed cultivator stepped forward and answered. Immediately. Chapter 3772. Lin Feng did not expect to meet Zi Yuan and the others here. Lin Feng felt that he was really unlucky. Now, Zi Yuan was like a stranger to him. And Zi Yuan was with the Black Robe clan. The Black Robe clan was one of the forces that Lin Feng would definitely eradicate in the future. Lin Feng flew quickly in the forest. In the vast, ancient forest, it was easier to find a place for seclusion. Swish! Suddenly, above Lin Feng, a cold light flashed. Then, a black light condensed. Looking carefully, that black light was actually a black sword chi. It was Lin Feng's first time seeing this kind of black sword chi. Waves of terrifying aura shook out from the sword chi. That black sword chi locked onto Lin Feng. Then it slashed towards Lin Feng and instantly flew to Lin Feng's side. Lin Feng's face couldn't help but sink. Someone actually dared to sneak an attack on him. He didn't know who it was that attacked in the dark. But no matter who it was, there was only death for daring to sneak an attack on him. Lin Feng raised his right hand and slashed out a blade light. The sword chi and the blade light collided in the void. In the end, both sides were annihilated. Which scoundrel is hiding his head and showing his tail? Get out here for me. Lin Feng said coldly, "Kid, to be able to block my sword, it seems that your battle strength is indeed not bad. Rumor has it that your battle strength far surpasses your realm. I didn't believe it at first, but now I believe this rumor." At this moment, a cold voice sounded. A cultivator stepped out from the void. This cultivator wasn't anyone else. It was Lei Mo, who had been sent by Heavenly Supremacy Yuan to deal with Lin Feng. This person was Heavenly Supremacy Yuan's subordinate. In the Black Robe clan, these supremacy-level experts all had their own forces, and between the various supremacies, there were open and covert struggles. However, this Heavenly Supremacy Yuan and Tai Dao Supremacy were not bad. Black Robe clan, you came here alone. Lin Feng looked around cautiously. Lin Feng had seen the black-robed clan's Supremacy Yuan before. He knew how terrifying Supremacy Yuan was. When he saw Zi Yuan, Lin Feng also saw Supremacy Yuan. It would be dangerous if Supremacy Yuan Tian made a move. That was why Lin Feng was so vigilant, mainly because he was wary of Supremacy Yuan Tian. If you see this person or sense this person's aura, Lin Feng would leave without hesitation. Rem said indifferently, "Of course it's just me. Do I need two people to deal with you? You think you're worthy?" Rem was an extremely arrogant person. He didn't put Lin Feng in his eyes. In his opinion, dealing with Lin Feng was too easy. It was as easy as flipping his hand. Therefore, he could not help but look at Lin Feng with a hint of disdain. Hee, I've seen a lot of self-righteous people, but they don't end up well. Lin Feng retorted, "Kid, you'll know soon enough. The gap between you and me is huge. 10 moves. To deal with you, I'll only use 10 moves at most. I'll be able to suppress you. Rem walked towards Lin Feng step by step. His eyes were filled with chilling intent. Boom. Rem attacked, sending a palm strike towards Lin Feng. His palm was surrounded by black light. The black light condensed into the word death. This divine ability was clearly an extremely terrifying divine ability. When this divine ability was unleashed, all the flowers and trees within a few hundred meters instantly withered. The power of death. I'll let you see my eye of death. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. His left eye flickered with a strange light. A ray of light shot out from his left eye. That terrifying light. It swept towards Remington Bang. The eye of death collided with Rem's palm. The black energy surrounding Rem's palm was instantly broken. Lin Feng quickly threw himself at Lei Mo. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Lei Mo and condensed a supreme reincarnation punch. He threw a punch at Lei Mo. Rem's face suddenly darkened. He didn't expect that his ability would be broken by Lin Feng so easily. Lin Feng's battle prowess astonished him. Facing Lin Feng's punch, Rem didn't dare to hesitate. He hurriedly unleashed a powerful divine ability. This ability was called Thunderstorm Art. He sent out a palm strike with his palm as the center. Streaks of divine thunder that distorted time and space appeared in the surrounding void. Those streaks of divine thunder, they exploded. The void was blasted apart. But this ability couldn't hurt Lin Feng. Lin Feng's supreme reincarnation fist shook slightly. Suddenly, the divine thunder in the void, it was completely destroyed in an instant. Bang! In the next moment, Lin Feng and Rem collided. The power of the supreme reincarnation fist was too strong, and Rem was sent flying. In midair, he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. How is this possible? Rem couldn't believe what he was seeing. Lin Feng's combat strength was too heaven-defying. In Rem's opinion, Lin Feng was just an immortal emperor realm cultivator. This level, even if he crossed a realm to challenge someone, how many realms could he cross? 1 or 2. Crossing a realm was the emperor realm. Crossing 2 realms was the emperor realm. Crossing 3 realms was the emperor realm. And Remington, he was an early-stage Saint Emperor realm cultivator. But in front of Lin Feng, he couldn't even withstand a single attack. Lin Feng's cultivation level was 4 cultivation layers higher than his, and he could easily crush him. Rem had never seen such a monstrous person. At this moment, Lin Feng attacked again. It was still the supreme reincarnation fist. He attacked Remington. In a hurry, Rem used the 9-yang divine lightning technique to block Lin Feng's punch. But Rem's condensed divine ability was broken by Lin Feng again. Lin Feng and Rem collided again. This time, there was a cracking sound. Rem's arm was broken. Die. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent as he punched out a 3rd time. This time, Rem couldn't dodge. Lin Feng's invincible punch landed on Rem's body. Bang! Rem's body exploded on the spot. He turned into a bloody mist. 1,000 miles away, Autumn Leaf Town, Heavenly Venerate Yuan, who had been sipping tea with Zi Yuan, had a frosty expression on her face. Zi Yuan asked, What happened? Rem is dead. Supremacy Yuan said. What? Rem is dead. Lin Feng killed him. How is that possible? Zi Yuan's expression was full of disbelief. This Lin Feng grew so fast. I want to deal with him personally. Supremacy Yuan's voice was cold. I'll go with you, Zi Yuan said. Whoosh. A light flashed. Chapter 3773. After killing Lei Mo, Lin Feng quickly flew into the depths of the forest. This forest was called the Dark Ancient Forest, and it was one of the largest ancient forests in the heavenly sage great world. It stretched out, and no one knew where it ended. In the dark, ancient forest, danger lurked everywhere. Lin Feng only wanted to find a place to cultivate in seclusion. Then he could cultivate in seclusion. Buzz. The void trembled slightly, and then two figures stepped out. It was Supremacy Yuan and Zi Yuan. After seeing the two of them, Lin Feng's expression turned ugly. Supremacy Yuan and Zi Yuan's current cultivation was unimaginable. Now that the two of them had come together, it was going to be troublesome. That Lei Mo from before was Supremacy Yuan's subordinate. Obviously, Supremacy Yuan must have known that Lei Mo had been killed. That was why she had personally come to deal with him. The only thing that Lin Feng felt fortunate was that the current Supremacy Yuan should be from this era. Supremacy Yuan had the weakest cultivation when she was young. These beings who had crossed eras were the strongest at the beginning of the era. As time passed, their cultivation became weaker and weaker. But Lin Feng knew, even if Supremacy Yuan's cultivation had fallen, she was still in existence that was still terrifying. However, she was still an extremely terrifying existence. Moreover, Zi Yuan was eyeing her covetously from the side. Little ant of the past. It's only been a few years, and you've grown to your current level. It's unbelievable. Supremacy Yuan looked at Lin Feng indifferently. This woman was very beautiful, coupled with her powerful strength and extraordinary background. This woman could be said to be extremely arrogant. Even if Lin Feng had killed Lei Mo, in Supremacy Yuan's eyes, Lin Feng was still an ant. He. What? Is a high supremacy going to personally take action? Lin Feng sneered. This subordinate is incompetent. Or else. How are you qualified for this supremacy to personally take action? Supremacy Yuan sneered. She slapped her palm toward Lin Feng from a distance. Suddenly, a giant energy palm condensed in the void. That gigantic hand was moving towards Lin Feng in a flash. A terrifying fluctuation was emitted from the energy handprint. It contained the power to destroy heaven and earth. It was extremely shocking. After feeling the terrifying power of the energy palm, Lin Feng couldn't help but reveal a horrified expression. The power of that energy palm was too terrifying. Lin Feng knew that Supremacy Yuantian's cultivation was very strong. However, Lin Feng's cultivation had increased tremendously. He believed that even if he couldn't beat Supremacy Yuan, he should still be able to exchange blows with him. However, it wasn't until he sensed the power contained in Supremacy Yuan's terrifying strike that Lin Feng realized how huge the gap between him and Supremacy Yuan was. Lin Feng didn't dare to hesitate. He hurriedly took out the ruler's armor. At the same time, he also established a connection with the Golden Man in his dantian. The powerful energy contained in the Golden Man was completely instilled into Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng activated the Supreme Reincarnation Fist and punched out with all his strength. Bang! The Supreme Reincarnation Fist collided with the energy palm condensed by Supremacy Yuan. Lin Feng immediately felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His body was blasted away. His face became as pale as paper, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Supremacy Yuan had only casually attacked, but it had actually erupted with such terrifying combat power. It was too terrifying. Great clone technique. Lin Feng didn't hesitate and hurriedly used the great clone technique of the 3,000 great paths. Lin Feng split into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. Lin Feng's body kept splitting until hundreds of Lin Feng appeared. Then, these split Lin Feng fled in all directions. The great clone technique, one of the 3,000 great paths, didn't have any offensive power. This kind of ability belonged to the confusion category. When he was in danger, he could use the 3,000 great Daos to escape. The effect was quite good. Zi Yuan, you and I will take care of half each. Don't let any of the clones escape. Supremacy Yuan said. Zi Yuan smiled slightly and said, Of course, no problem. It's a good time to exercise my muscles. As soon as she said that, Zi Yuan flicked her finger. Suddenly, rays of cold light condensed and slashed at the clones of Lin Feng. When the cold light slashed at the clones would immediately collapse. Supremacy Yuan Tian. On the other hand, send out palm after palm across the void. Each palm was able to destroy one of Lin Feng's clones. Lin Feng's clones were constantly being destroyed. Found you? Suddenly, Zi Yuan's eyes flashed with a bright light. Then, she leaped out and locked onto one of Lin Feng's clones. One palm. She slapped over fiercely. Like a flash flood, power surged in Lin Feng's body. That power, it was too terrifying. It was simply shocking. Zi Yuan's strength. She was so powerful. He didn't even know how she had raised her cultivation. The feeling that Zi Yuan gave Lin Feng was even more dangerous than the feeling that Supremacy Yuan gave Lin Feng. Bang! Accompanied by the sound of an incomparably violent collision, Lin Feng's original body and Zi Yuan slammed into each other. That tyrannical power poured into Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng flew out like a kite with a broken string. After suffering this terrifying blow, Lin Feng's great cloning technique was interrupted and his clones directly dissipated. Lin Feng was attacked by Zi Yuan, but he didn't complain at all. He didn't even say anything. Zi Yuan was no longer the Zi Yuan of the past. The moment Lin Feng was blasted out, Supremacy Yuan had already arrived behind Lin Feng. She sneered and said, Kid, it's all over. Supremacy Yuan's terrifying palm blasted towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng felt the aura of death from Supremacy Yuan's palm. At this critical moment, Lin Feng hurriedly used the heaven patching technique. Swish! With a flash of light, Lin Feng disappeared. However, at this moment, Supremacy Yuan sneered and said, Kid, you can't escape. Previously, dense threads had flown out from Supremacy Yuan's right hand. These were the threads condensed from the Great Entanglement technique. Those threads penetrated the void. Supremacy Yuan pulled hard. Lin Feng, who had used the heaven patching technique to avoid Supremacy Yuan's terrifying attack, had his ankle bound by Supremacy Yuan's Great Entanglement technique. Lin Feng was forcibly pulled out of the parallel space by Supremacy Yuan. It's over! Supremacy Yuan's voice was indifferent as he slapped the ruler's armor. The ruler's armor immediately retracted back into Lin Feng's body. Go to hell! Shouted Lin Feng furiously, throwing a punch at Zun Master Yuan Tian. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. Supremacy Yuan sneered and raised his right hand. His index finger gently tapped Lin Feng. A cold light condensed and first pierced Lin Feng's palm and broke Lin Feng's attack. Then a piercing sound was heard. That cold light. Chapter 3774. Even though that kind of injury would be harmful to Lin Feng didn't care. However, it would be difficult to kill Lin Feng. It was just that Lin Feng's situation was worse because Supremacy Yuan was too powerful. There was simply no way to contend with her. Countless threads moved towards Lin Feng, trying to bind him. Supremacy Yuan wanted to use the threads condensed from the Great Entanglement technique to completely bind Lin Feng. At this moment, suddenly Zi Yuan blasted a palm towards Supremacy Yuan. Zi Yuan's attack was too sudden. There was no warning at all. Lin Feng saw Zi Yuan sneak attack Supremacy Yuan, but he naturally wouldn't say anything. However, Lin Feng didn't understand why Zi Yuan would sneak an attack on Supremacy Yuan. Supremacy Yuan was too powerful. Although she had been sneak attacked by Zi Yuan, she still sensed the situation behind her. Therefore, she turned around and slapped her palm. Bang! Supremacy Yuan and Zi Yuan's palms collided. Supremacy Yuan was extremely powerful, but her attack was too hasty. So, she suffered quite a bit of a loss when she collided with Zi Yuan's palm, and she was slapped flying by Zi Yuan's palm strike. Her face also became extremely pale. Zi Yuan's attack caused considerable damage to Emperor Yuan Tian. Lin Feng hurriedly took out the 5 types of skyfire. The skyfire burned fiercely, burning all the threads wrapped around his body to ashes. Zi Yuan, what the hell are you doing? Venerable Lord Yuan looked at Zi Yuan furiously. Zi Yuan's expression was cold. She didn't say anything and directly charged towards Supremacy Yuan. What's going on? An internal strife. Lin Feng was extremely puzzled. It's you. You've awakened. Your little bitch's soul has actually awakened. Soon, Supremacy Yuan thought of a certain possibility. Then, cold killing intent burst out from her eyes. Lin Feng's expression suddenly shook. From Supremacy Yuan's words, he seemed to know the ins and outs of the matter. Zi Yuan, is it you? Lin Feng's voice trembled slightly. Young master, leave quickly. Zi Yuan said. When Lin Feng heard Zi Yuan's trembling voice, Lin Feng's body stiffened on the spot. It really was Zi Yuan. Ever since he saw Zi Yuan again in Jiuzhou, she seemed to have changed into a different person. However, Lin Feng didn't think of anything else. He just thought that Zi Yuan's personality had changed greatly after not seeing her for so many years. It wasn't until now that he knew that Zi Yuan was in great trouble. The Zi Yuan that had appeared before wasn't the real Zi Yuan. Lin Feng thought of possession. Could it be? Zi Yuan's body be possessed? I'll help you deal with Supremacy Yuan. Then I'll help you kill the soul that possessed you. Lin Feng said. Ha ha ha, stupid guy, who said that Zi Yuan's body was possessed. She's my sister's reincarnation. My sister's soul is sleeping in the depths of her mind. Originally, this little girl's soul should have fused with my sister's soul, becoming the same person in her past life and present life. However, this little girl is very unwilling because she's worried about someone, and that person is you. This unwillingness has caused her soul to be unable to completely fuse with my sister's soul. However, as time passed, her soul still found it difficult to resist my sister's soul fusion technique. Therefore, her soul has gradually fused with my sister's soul. Only a remnant of her soul is left. I really didn't expect that this little girl's remnant soul would be able to suppress my sister's consciousness. But so what? This little girl's soul will soon completely fuse with my sister's soul. When that happens, she'll completely disappear from this world. Supremacy Yuan said with a cold smile. After hearing Supremacy Yuan's words, Lin Feng's face suddenly revealed an extremely shocked expression. He hadn't expected the situation to be like this at all. Zi Yuan was actually someone else's reincarnation. This was much more terrifying than soul possession, because soul possession could kill someone else's soul and control their own body again. However, reincarnated bodies were different. Supremacy Yuan's sister was in her past life, while Zi Yuan was in her current life. The fusion of the souls of the past and present life meant that only one person's consciousness could control this body. Obviously, in this kind of struggle, Zi Yuan was far from being able to fight with Supremacy Yuan's sister. As for killing Heavenly Venerate Yuan's sister's soul, that wasn't realistic either, as her soul had already fused with Zi Yuan's soul. Once the fused soul was killed, both of their consciousnesses would disappear. As for the purple mandarin duck, it was dead. Sir, don't come over. I can't hold on for long. Soon, she will control her body. When that time comes, you won't be able to leave even if you want to. If that's the case, then all my efforts will be in vain. If you leave and become stronger in the future, you might be able to save me. If even you die in their hands, then I won't have any hope of survival. Zi Yuan begs you to leave quickly. After hearing Zi Yuan's words, Lin Feng couldn't help but clench his fists. At this moment, how could he leave? However, Zi Yuan said that it was indeed very reasonable. Lin Feng hated it. He hated that he wasn't strong enough. He couldn't save Zi Yuan now. If he was strong enough, how could he be forced into such a sorry state? TSK, what a bitter drama. Little b asterisk TCH. It seems that your lover doesn't want to leave. Supremacy Yuan and Zi Yuan were in a great battle. Zi Yuan was extremely anxious. She was so anxious that tears flowed out. She said anxiously, "Sir, I can't hold on any longer. Zi Yuan begs you to leave." Lin Feng saw the tears at the corner of Zi Yuan's eyes. He saw Zi Yuan's pleading gaze. Lin Feng's heart was trembling. "Persevere and live. I will definitely save you. I will definitely save you." Lin Feng shouted loudly. "I will. I will." Zi Yuan nodded heavily. Lin Feng, on the other hand, shuttled through the void and left quickly. Not long after Lin Feng left, Zi Yuan's eyes changed. It was a change that could change a person's temperament. The original Zi Yuan was weak with a hint of strength, but now this pair of eyes, only coldness. B asterisk TCH, this little b asterisk TCH is actually reviving at this time to cause trouble. Zi Yuan couldn't help but curse. Obviously, the one controlling the body now was no longer the real Zi Yuan, but Supremacy Yuan's sister. Things are a little troublesome. This little b asterisk TCH has obtained hope, and her obsession will become even stronger. It will become extremely difficult to completely resolve her obsession. If we can't resolve her obsession, I'm afraid we won't be able to suppress her after a long time. At that time, she might even control the body instead. Supremacy Yuan said, "Then kill Lin Feng. As long as we kill Lin Feng, the sustenance that supports her life will be gone. At that time, her obsession will dissipate on its own." Chapter 3775. "Chase," Zi Yuan said coldly. She shuttled through the void and chased after Lin Feng. As for Supremacy Yuan, she also shuttled through the void and chased after Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng was nowhere to be found. In a hidden cave, after Lin Feng set up the isolation restriction, he entered the cave. Bang, bang, bang. Lin Feng punched the ground again and again. Crack, crack. The rocks on the ground shattered. Hate, hate, hate. Lin Feng was filled with hatred. His hatred was monstrous. He was extremely thirsty for power now. He longed to become stronger. Without sufficient power, he was destined to be helpless when faced with many things. Only when he had sufficient power could he do what he wanted to do. Only then could he protect his family, relatives, lovers, and friends. Whoosh! There was a flash of light. The heart of all evil flew out. Right now, the heart of all evil was still sealed by Lin Feng. Right now, Lin Feng intended to refine the heart of all evil to increase his power. Of course, Lin Feng also knew that if he refined the heart of all evil, he might be enslaved by the heart of all evil. However, Lin Feng believed in himself. He believed that he could overcome all of this. He believed that he was in control of the heart of all evil and not the other way around. Stone of Purgatory Suppression. How do I refine the heart of all evil? Lin Feng asked. It requires a special cultivation technique. This cultivation technique will decompose the heart of all evil into energy runes and these energy runes can be absorbed by the young master's heart. These energy runes are extremely terrifying. They themselves have unimaginable abilities. As time passes, these energy runes will attempt to control young master's thoughts. This is the terrifying part of the heart of all evil. If anything happens to the young master, these energy runes may turn into the heart of all evil again. Once that happens, it will be troublesome. At that time, the young master's body will be controlled by the heart of all evil. The stone of purgatory suppression said with a solemn expression, "Right now, Lin Feng only wanted to increase his cultivation level as soon as possible. Furthermore, wealth came from danger. Right now, refining the heart of all evil was something that had to be done. Teach me that cultivation technique." Lin Feng said. "Yes, young master," the suppressing prison stone said. Immediately after, a message flowed into Lin Feng's mind, and the content of that message. It was the technique to decompose the heart of all evil into energy runes. Lin Feng entered the time and space to cultivate in seclusion. He spent 3 days to completely master the technique that the stone of suppressing prison had taught him. Next, Lin Feng began to circulate this cultivation technique to disintegrate the heart of all evil. This cultivation method was very mysterious. The heart of all evil was gradually broken down into energy runes, and those energy runes were absorbed by Lin Feng's heart. "Brat, I am your heart." The heart is the source of a person's motivation. It was the place where bloodlines gathered. The strength of a human's bloodline. It's related to the heart. You have an even more powerful heart. Then your bloodline will become even more powerful. Now open your soul. I'll teach you how to completely fuse with the heart of all evil. Let the heart of all evil completely fuse with your heart. That way, you'll be able to create the most powerful heart in history. At that time, you can imagine how powerful your bloodline will be. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and open your soul. A gentle and enticing voice resounded in Lin Feng's mind. It was the voice of the heart of all evil. The heart of all evil would seize any opportunity to confuse Lin Feng and enslave Lin Feng. Heart of all evil, you don't have to do these useless things. Since I've refined you, you will never be able to rise up again. Lin Feng said indifferently. That's not necessarily true. As long as I find any opportunity, I will be able to enslave you. At that time, you will become my slave. The heart of all evil said viciously. Lin Feng did not care about the heart of all evil. He continued to refine the heart of all evil. This time, he went into seclusion. It actually took Lin Feng a whole year. Of course, 1 year in the time-space, if converted to the time outside, was only 2 months. In the 1 year in the time-space, Lin Feng had gained a lot. He had broken through to the peak of the immortal emperor realm, and it was clear that he was not done yet. At this moment, a tribulation light appeared between Lin Feng's eyebrows. This was the emperor tribulation light. Lin Feng could already break through to the emperor realm. However, Lin Feng had been suppressing his cultivation. He was constantly consolidating his cultivation. Finally, Lin Feng came out of the time and space and came out of the cave where he was meditating. Thunder rumbled in the sky. Lin Feng's emperor tribulation. It began to condense. Bolts of lightning struck down, but they did not cause any harm to Lin Feng. This time, a total of 160,000 bolts of lightning struck down. All of them were neutralized by Lin Feng. Lin Feng's cultivation had finally reached the emperor realm. The lightning tribulation dissipated. Demon Lord, what kind of tribulation did I undergo this time? Lin Feng asked. Although it surpassed the great immortal Tao tribulation, it is far from the minor longevity tribulation. For you, It is considered a normal tribulation. Demon Lord said, "Minor longevity tribulation? What kind of tribulation is that? Is it the tribulation after the great immortal Tao tribulation?" Lin Feng asked curiously. "That's right. This is a tribulation more terrifying than the great immortal Tao tribulation. You will definitely experience this tribulation in the future, but I don't know which realm you will experience it in. This tribulation is too terrifying. The later you experience it, the better." Demon Lord said. The silver moon was like a plate. Stars dotted the sky. A bonfire burned fiercely. Lin Feng killed a ferocious beast in the forest and then cut it open. Then he cut off the best meat from the beast and roasted it. Bibi, Dragon Rabbit, and Xiaolong came out one after another. They were full. The three little gluttonous cats slept soundly. The stronger the spirit beast, the longer it would be in its infancy. Therefore, Bibi, Dragon Rabbit, and Xiaolong were in their infancy for a longer time. Now, they were still in their infancy stage. They always did things that made Lin Feng not know whether to laugh or cry. Lin Feng sent the three little fellows back to the time and space to rest. Late at night, Lin Feng was resting. However, Lin Feng felt a cold aura. He opened his eyes. He looked at the sky. Blood moon. Lin Feng frowned. Why did the moon turn blood red? It was extremely strange. And the blood moon often represented misfortune. Not long after, the 5 stars formed a line. One could vaguely see that the 5 stars had formed a line with the blood moon. This is Chapter 3776. There must be evil in the sky when there was a strange phenomenon. Usually, after such a phenomenon appeared, something very evil would happen. Lin Feng carefully observed the situation. He had the feeling that something was wrong. Therefore, Lin Feng planned to explore that area. 5 stars and moons, pointing to the northwest. Lin Feng deduced, and then quickly rushed in the northwest direction. Originally, there were roars of beasts in the night, but now it was very quiet and he couldn't hear them. It was indeed very strange. Therefore, Lin Feng was very careful. He didn't want to lose his life because of this. If that was the case, the loss would outweigh the gain. Lin Feng rushed toward his destination. As he got closer and closer to that place, Lin Feng could clearly feel waves of gloomy and terrifying aura filling the mountain forest. Finally, Lin Feng saw a continuous range of mountains. The continuous range of mountains was actually black mountain peaks, which looked very strange. A strange power enveloped the entire huge mountain range. A blood-red moonlight from the blood moon in the sky shone directly on a tomb. It was an extremely huge tomb, and the words "Old Demon of the Black Mountain" were written on the tombstone. This name was really eye-catching. Could it be that the cultivator buried inside was this existence called Old Demon of the Black Mountain? Bang! Suddenly, the tomb directly exploded, and then a large amount of corpse chi surged out from the tomb. Amidst the endless corpse chi, a terrifying creature slowly rose into the air. This terrifying creature was wearing a somewhat tattered gray robe. His body had long been withered. His palms were huge, his nails were extremely long, and his head was much larger than a normal person's head. He looked similar to a human, but he was obviously not a human cultivator. Is this the Old Demon of the Black Mountain? He should be a powerful zombie. Seeing the Old Demon of the Black Mountain rushing out from the cracked tomb, Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. This was definitely an extremely terrifying existence. Otherwise, it wouldn't have caused such a huge phenomenon. Even from far away, Lin Feng could feel the suffocating pressure from the Witch of the Black Mountain. Keek keek, the blood-red moonlight shone on the Black Mountain Old Fiend's body. The Black Mountain Old Fiend let out a sinister laugh. That laughter was even scarier than the laughter of a malicious ghost. When he heard the terrifying laughter of the Black Mountain old demon, Lin Feng's mind could not help but tremble slightly. He completely concealed himself and did not reveal himself. Yang Qi, Yang Qi, the old goblin of the Black Mountain suddenly uttered a hoarse voice. He soared into the sky and flew into the distance. It soon disappeared without a trace. Is this guy trying to absorb Yang Qi? When he was born? I wonder which unlucky bastard is going to be sucked dry by this guy. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter. After the old fiend of the Black Mountain left, he flew directly to the grave of the old fiend of the Black Mountain. This was a tomb. The fact that it could give birth to such a terrifying zombie was enough to show that this tomb was extraordinary. According to the 8 volumes of feng shui theory, those who gave birth to the zombie must have an evil spirit. By observing whether it was Yin and determining its Yin meridian, one could find an opportunity. This was the content of the 8 volumes of feng shui theory. It meant that the place where the zombie was born was extremely extraordinary. There must be something special in these places to be able to give birth to an evil spirit like the zombie. We need to observe if there is a Yin meridian in this place. If there is a Yin meridian, we will find the place where it is located. As long as we can find the Yin meridian, we will be able to obtain an opportunity. When Lin Feng descended into the tomb, he discovered something extraordinary. The Yin Qi here was extremely heavy. Lin Feng could basically confirm that there was a Yin meridian here. When Lin Feng descended to the bottom of the tomb, he discovered that there was a huge platform at the bottom of the tomb, and on the platform was a wooden coffin. This is a wooden coffin made of 9 Yin mystical wood. When he saw the wooden coffin, Lin Feng could not help but be shocked. Rumor had it that the 9 Yin mystical wood could absorb the extreme Yin energy between heaven and earth. Therefore, the 9 Yin mystical wood was the best material to nurture zombies. However, very few people would bury themselves in the 9 Yin mystical wood because any living being buried in it would never be able to reincarnate. Therefore, Lin Feng was very surprised to see a coffin made of 9 Yin mystical wood here. However, he did not know who had created the coffin. Lin Feng felt that it should not have been made by the old demon of Black Mountain, right? Could it be that this guy did not even let him rest in peace after he died? Did he have to torment himself after he died? Of course. This kind of thing was hard to say. 9 Yin ascends to the heavens. The patterns point in all directions, life on the left and death on the right, Yin and Yang reverse. Lin Feng walked around the platform. He was determining the location of the Yin meridian. The 8 volumes of feng shui theory from the immeasurable Taoist were extremely useful. At this time, it could have an astonishing effect. Found it, Lin Feng's eyes quickly lit up. Through the method of determining the Yin meridian recorded in the 8 volumes of feng shui theory, Lin Feng found the possible location of the Yin meridian. However, it was hard to say whether it was a Yin meridian or not. He needed to confirm it before he could know. Open. Lin Feng came to the place he found. His right hand was like a sword as he slashed out a ray of sword qi. Buffed. The world was in chaos, and the ground cracked open. Endless Yin energy spewed out. It was indeed a Yin meridian. It was below. Lin Feng waved his hand, and monstrous dermic powers surged out. Rumble! Rumble! A loud sound shook the sky as the entire Yin meridian began to be gradually extracted. Lin Feng flew out and floated in midair. He used all his strength to extract the entire Yin meridian. This Yin meridian was dozens of miles long. It emitted a sinister aura. In the center of the Yin meridian, there was a strange energy being nurtured. He did not know what it was. Extreme Yin Devil Stone. Good stuff. This is a supreme treasure for forging immortal artifacts. The demon lord said. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. He hurriedly flew over and took away the extreme Yin Devil Stone from the Yin Meridian. Rumble! The Yin Meridian fell to the ground. Lin Feng did not stay and quickly left this place. He planned to find a place to integrate the extreme Yin Devil Stone into his natal magic treasure, the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp. It was time for the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp to continue evolving. One day later, Lin Feng saw an endless amount of gloomy qi in the distance. The old demon of the Black Mountain quickly flew towards Lin Feng. Kid, are you the one who destroyed my Yin Meridian? I'm going to kill you. The old demon of the Black Mountain roared. Humph! What do you mean by your Yin Meridian? It's buried underground, so it's naturally ownerless. Lin Feng could not help but sneer. Then, he took out 3 stone swords. Chapter 3777. The old demon of the Black Mountain waved his sleeve. A large amount of corpse chi spread out and swept towards the 3 stone swords. He wanted to sweep Lin Feng's 3 stone swords to the side, but the power of the 3 stone swords was too strong. The old demon of the Black Mountain did not sweep the 3 stone swords away. The 3 stone swords instantly flew to the side of the old demon of the Black Mountain and were about to kill him. The old demon of the Black Mountain slapped out with his huge palm. The sharp claws collided with the 3 stone swords. There was a clang, clang, clang sound of collision. Lin Feng could not help but be shocked. Weren't the claws of the old demon of the Black Mountain too hard? These zombies liked to refine every part of their bodies to the level of a magic treasure. Therefore, their bodies were incomparably hard, especially the claws of the zombies. Their power was even more terrifying. Now it seemed that the old demon of the Black Mountain had also taken such a path of cultivation. He had cultivated his claws to the level of a magic treasure. The old demon of the Black Mountain unleashed his power and slapped Lin Feng's 3 stone swords away. Descent of the Corpse Kingdom. Then, the old demon of the Black Mountain activated an extremely powerful magic. This descent of the Corpse Kingdom was extremely powerful. Immediately, a nation of ghouls was formed. Then, it descended from the sky and enveloped Lin Feng. He. A sinister voice resounded in the Corpse Kingdom. A large amount of corpse chi rolled, and within the corpse chi, there were countless corpse demons. These corpse demons emitted an aura that made one's hair stand on end. The endless zombies all pounced towards Lin Feng. The old demon of the Black Mountain was hiding in a large number of zombies. He was ready to launch a fatal attack on Lin Feng at any time. Therefore, the current situation was extremely dangerous. For Lin Feng, if he was not careful, he might die under the attack of the old demon of the Black Mountain. The old demon of the Black Mountain was indeed terrifying. Lin Feng hurriedly took out the ruler's armor. Then he took out the Buddhist treasure Kasaya. Lin Feng flew onto the Buddhist treasure Kasaya and sat cross-legged. Namo Amitba. He put his palms together as if he had turned into an eminent monk. Behind Lin Feng, the figure of an old Buddha appeared. The old Buddha also put his palms together. Just like Lin Feng, he chanted the Buddhist Heart Sutra. Buddha's light surged out of the old Buddha's body. The zombies let out horrified cries and did not dare to move forward. The Buddha's light was extremely terrifying. Heavenly Corpse Divine Fist. The old demon of Black Mountain was demon of the Black Mountain attack of demon of the Black Mountain demon of the demon of the Black of the Mountain demon of the Black Mountain demon of the Black Mountain. Buddha of the Black Mountain of Black Mountain. The boundless Buddhist light successfully condensed into a huge light shield. It directly blocked the attack of the fist shadows that filled the sky. At this moment, the old fiend of the Black Mountain let out a sharp, ear-piercing cry. He seemed to be giving orders to those zombies. Those zombies! They are not condensed from the divine ability. Are they real zombies? Lin Feng could not help but be shocked. He finally realized that something was wrong. The zombies in the zombies' kingdom were actually real zombies. This was even more troublesome. This old demon of the Black Mountain had actually cultivated so many zombies, although those zombies were afraid of the Buddha's light. But under the orders of the old demon of the Black Mountain, those zombies still rushed towards Lin Feng and began to attack the defensive light shield formed by the Buddha's light. Crack, crack, crack. Under the joint attack of a large number of zombies and the old demon of the Black Mountain, the defensive light shield formed by the Buddha's light began to crack. Lin Feng knew that he could not continue like this. Once the defensive light shield formed by the Buddha's light was broken, he could not imagine what kind of scene it would be. Now, he had to be extremely careful. Kill! Lin Feng's idea moved. The 3 stone swords continued to slash towards the old demon of the Black Mountain. Facing the attacks of the 3 stone swords, the old demon of the Black Mountain did not dare to ignore them. Therefore, the old demon of the Black Mountain had no choice but to give up on attacking Lin Feng and block the attacks of the 3 stone swords. Lin Feng stood up at this time. 5 types of sky fire flew out. He used the powerful sacred art of the burning wrath of the heavens. The 5 types of sky fire instantly fused together. Then, it turned into a ball of flame that distorted time and space. Lin Feng directly took out the ball of flame. Boom! The next moment, it was accompanied by a wave that could destroy the heavens and the earth. The ball of flame directly exploded, forming an energy storm that swept through heaven and earth. A large number of zombies were submerged, and their bodies were instantly destroyed. At this time, Lin Feng soared into the sky, took out the black dragon sword, and then activated it with all his might. Then, he slashed towards the crystal wall of the zombie kingdom. Puff, accompanied by a tearing sound, the crystal wall of the zombie kingdom was torn apart by Lin Feng's black dragon sword, and Lin Feng rushed out of the zombie kingdom. At this time, the 3 stone swords collided with the old demon of the Black Mountain and were sent flying by the old demon of the Black Mountain. Under the summoning of Lin Feng's mind, the 3 stone swords instantly disappeared. They flew back into Lin Feng's time and space. Damn it! You can't escape. The old demon of the Black Mountain withdrew the zombie kingdom and quickly chased after Lin Feng. His eyes were filled with monstrous killing intent. The old demon of the Black Mountain felt that, with his strength, killing Lin Feng shouldn't be that difficult. However, it was a different situation when it came to a real battle. Lin Feng used all kinds of methods. This gave the old demon of the Black Mountain a headache. Right now, the old demon of the Black Mountain was extremely sullen. He had a cultivation base, but he was unable to kill a weak human cultivator. This made the old demon of the Black Mountain extremely angry. The old demon of the Black Mountain chased after Lin Feng closely. Lin Feng looked back from time to time with an ugly expression. The old demon of the Black Mountain definitely had the strength of an emperor. Now that he was targeted by the old demon of the Black Mountain, the situation was extremely bad. Lin Feng tried to get rid of the old demon of the Black Mountain. However, the old demon of the Black Mountain speed was also extremely fast. There was no way to get rid of him. Kid, you can't escape. I'll catch you later. I want to eat your flesh. Drink your blood. The old demon of the Black Mountain's sinister voice came from behind. Lin Feng curled his lips and said sarcastically, "Old zombie, why is the sky so dark now?" It's because there are cows flying in the sky. Why are cows flying in the sky? It's because you, old zombie, are blowing on the ground. After hearing Lin Feng's words, the old demon of the Black Mountain was almost angered to death. Kid, I'll definitely kill you. Otherwise, how can I vent the hatred in my heart? The old demon of the Black Mountain increased his speed, and Lin Feng also increased his speed. Soon, hundreds of miles passed. Lin Feng saw waves of divine light surging in the forest in front of him. Not long after, Lin Feng saw a temple. Mountain God Temple. Lin Feng was shocked. The Mountain God Temple still had divinity that could scare away evil spirits. Chapter 3778. The Mountain God Temple frightened the Black Mountain's old demon so much that he didn't dare to come forward. The temples of these titled gods were all extraordinary. Not only were they able to intimidate the terrifying creatures in the endless ghost sand, but they were also able to intimidate them. Similarly, they were able to intimidate these in spirits and ghosts. Kid, do you think you can hide here for the rest of your life? I don't believe that you can hide here forever. The Black Mountain's old demon glared fiercely at Lin Feng. The old demon sat cross-legged on the ground. Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes when he saw this. It seemed like the Black Mountain's old demon wanted to continue wasting time with him. He, what a handsome little brother. If little big brother asks for my help, I can help little big brother chase this fellow away. At that moment, a beautiful female cultivator walked out of the Mountain God Temple. The female cultivator was tall and slender. She wore a light green dress that wrapped around her graceful body. She was born with a delicate face. It was a face so beautiful that it could take one's breath away. However, her temperament was very charming, and she looked like a seductive vixen. Lin Feng looked at the woman warily and asked, "Who are you?" "Don't be afraid, little brother. I'm not a bad person. I'm a demonic cultivator who cultivates in this forest all year round. Look at this Mountain God Temple. It was already in ruins, but I repaired it and reconstructed the Mountain God's golden avatar. I offer incense every day, and that's why this Mountain God Temple is glowing with divine power again," the woman said. Lin Feng said in surprise, although demonic cultivators don't fear temples like in spirits and demons, they still wouldn't dare to casually come into contact with the temples of these titled gods, right? Yet you repaired the temple and reconstructed the Mountain God's golden avatar. You even continued the incense in the Mountain God Temple. What a strange story. The woman said, "As long as you're sincere, even if you're a demon, you can have faith. Moreover, what if I'm just a demonic cultivator? What you've said does make some sense." Lin Feng nodded. Following this, Lin Feng said, "I'll have to trouble you to chase away the Black Mountain demon. I'll definitely reward you generously." The woman said, "Little brother, please don't be courteous with me. I like to help little brother, and I don't need any reward. Little brother, please wait for me to chase this zombie away. I'll talk to you again." "Thank you, fairy." Lin Feng cupped his fists. The woman walked towards the zombie. Shi Mei stood up and looked at the woman. He frowned and then left with a gloomy expression. This made Lin Feng very surprised. Just now, the zombie didn't intend to leave, and it looked like it was going to waste its time with him. However, after seeing the woman, he actually chose to leave. This made Lin Feng feel very surprised. Why was that? Could it be that he was intimidated by this woman's strength? This woman was indeed very powerful, but it was not to the extent that the old demon of the Black Mountain did not even resist and left quickly, right? There must be something fishy going on. Over the years, Lin Feng had been to many places and seen many things. Therefore, he had always been very cautious because the world of cultivators was really too dangerous. The slightest carelessness could lead to a tragic death. The woman said, "Little brother, let's go into the mountain god temple and talk in detail, shall we?" Lin Feng nodded calmly and said, "Okay, fairy, please go first." The woman laughed a few times and then entered the mountain god temple. Lin Feng followed closely behind and entered the mountain god temple. The statue of the mountain god was enshrined on the altar. The woman said, "Many people think that the mountain god is one of the lowest titled gods. In fact, this saying is extremely wrong. The mountain god is in charge of the famous mountains and rivers in the world. Many of the sacred cultivation grounds are in these famous mountains and rivers. The mountain god is the master of these famous mountains and rivers. If you want to enter these famous mountains and rivers to cultivate, you can't do it without the permission of the mountain god. Even if you force your way in, you won't dare to cultivate at ease. If you're attacked by the mountain god while cultivating, wouldn't you die in vain? Therefore, during the era of titled gods, the mountain god was a very powerful god. Countless titled gods would curry favor with the mountain god." The woman's words made sense. Lin Feng had heard similar words before. Therefore, the mountain god temple was very similar to the earth god temple. Both were very powerful temples. This was also why the old demon of the Black Mountain, such a powerful existence, saw the mountain god temple. The reason why he did not dare to come forward, the main reason was that the mountain god temple was very intimidating to the old demon of the Black Mountain. Therefore, the old demon of the Black Mountain did not dare to come forward. "Little brother, come, have a cup of tea." The woman came to a corner of the mountain god temple. There were futons, tables, and chairs here. This was the place where the woman cultivated. She had been cultivating diligently here. Spirit tea was boiling on the table. Now, the aroma of the tea was already wafting out. It refreshed one's heart. Good tea. Before drinking this tea, just by smelling the aroma of the tea, I feel like I'm about to enter a state of enlightenment. "What kind of tea is this?" Lin Feng asked as he walked toward the woman. Soon, he arrived at the table. The woman invited Lin Feng to sit down. Then, she personally served the tea to Lin Feng. "This tea is called Jade Dragon tea. It's an extremely rare tea. I got it by chance. You're lucky to be able to taste this kind of spirit tea. Please drink this tea quickly. Don't wait until it's cold. That way, the taste won't be good." The woman said with a smile. Lin Feng felt that this woman, and even this temple, had an indescribable sense of strangeness. He did not drink the tea. Instead, he said, "You can't rush when tasting tea. You need to calm down. Only then can you taste the flavor. And I've always had a habit of worshiping every temple I see. Now that the mountain god temple is protecting my safety, how can I not worship it? I plan to worship the mountain god first before tasting this tea. What do you think, fairy?" The woman said, "Of course it's good. Respect the gods. If you believe in the gods, you will definitely be protected by the gods. Thank you for your auspicious words. I hope the gods can protect me." Lin Feng stood up and walked toward the statue of the mountain god on the altar. He did not directly kneel down and worship the statue of the mountain god. Instead, he planned to use the heavenly demon snake eye to check the situation of the eyes. A golden light appeared in front of Lin Feng's forehead, covering his forehead. Lin Feng did not want others to know that he had the heavenly demon snake eye. Swish! The heavenly demon snake eye opened. It saw through all illusions. Lin Feng saw a completely different scene from the scene in front of him. The temple, which had been surrounded by divine light, had now become a dilapidated and eerie temple. The statue of the mountain god, on the altar had long been ruined and lost half of its body. On the ground, there was a thick layer of bones. The entire hall was filled with white bones. The woman who sat in the temple and drank tea was not a peerlessly beautiful female cultivator. Chapter 3779. You've discovered me. Suddenly, the woman stood up and sneered. What a great white bone creature. No wonder old demon Black Mountain left earlier. It's because he knows that this area is under your rule. You creatures have a very strong concept of territory, and everyone abides by the rule of not attacking others when they have trump cards. That's why old demon Black Mountain left. Am I right? Lin Feng looked at the woman coldly. That's right. You're right. I originally wanted to use the poisonous tea to deal with you, but I didn't expect you to be so vigilant. You even discovered my true identity. However, it doesn't matter. You won't be able to escape today. The woman's eerie voice sounded. You can't stop me. Lin Feng's expression was cold. He wanted to retreat first. However, at that moment, the entire temple changed. It changed from a temple filled with divine light to an eerie and terrifying one. In fact, this change wasn't a change of the temple itself, but an illusion cast by the skeleton. The skeleton was indeed incomparably terrifying. The illusion cast by her had even confused Lin Feng. Tricks. It was shocking. But now, everything had returned to its original state, including the skeletal creature. She had turned from a beautiful woman into a skeleton. Remember my name. I'm called Madam of Bones. Madam of Bones, who had turned into a skeleton, said. Then she attacked Lin Feng, her sharp claws grabbing at Lin Feng. Lin Feng activated the ruler's armor. The ruler's armor wrapped around Lin Feng's body. Then Lin Feng took out the black dragon sword. With the black dragon sword in hand, he charged at Madam of Bones. I'll break your bones today. Lin Feng sneered and slashed down with the sword in his hand. Clang, clang, clang. Madam of Bones' claws collided with Lin Feng's black dragon sword, and the two sides exchanged more than 10 blows. Madam of Bones found an opportunity and slapped Lin Feng's chest with her palm. A mountain-toppling, sea-draining power surged forth. Even though the ruler's armor was able to absorb most of the power, it still wasn't enough. However, the remaining power was still extremely terrifying. It bombarded Lin Feng's body and sent Lin Feng flying. Lin Feng's qi and blood roiled, his face pale. The cultivation of this Madam of Bones was truly terrifying. Lin Feng was injured by Madam of Bones. Of course, this injury was nothing to Lin Feng. He activated his immortal divine body, and his injuries were instantly healed. I'm going to suck your primordial yang qi. Madam of Bones said with a smile. If she was still in her human form, it would be fine if she laughed like this. But the key point was now. She was just a skeleton, yet she was able to make such a delicate sound. Lin Feng felt a chill run down his spine. Lin Feng also felt a little disgusted. I'll chop you up, you disgusting thing. Lin Feng once again charged forward with the black dragon sword in hand. You overestimate yourself. Madam of Bones looked at Lin Feng with a mocking expression. She was powerful, so she didn't put Lin Feng in her eyes at all. Madam of Bones slapped out at Lin Feng. Clang! Her palm collided with Lin Feng's black dragon sword. Neither side could do anything to the other. At this moment, Madam of Bones' other hand reached out. She directly grabbed at Lin Feng. She actually wanted to capture Lin Feng. Whoosh! At this moment, a black light flew out from behind Madam of Bones and fiercely collided with her. It was the supreme demon, Iron. Lin Feng communicated with the supreme demon Iron and the Stone of Suppressing Prison asking them to attack together and cooperate with him to deal with Madame of Bones. Madame of Bones' perception was very strong. The moment the supreme demon iron appeared, she sensed its existence. Therefore, the palm that was originally grabbing at Lin Feng directly slapped at the supreme demon iron. Bang! The terrifying attack directly hit the supreme demon iron and sent it flying. Ouch! It hurts so much. It hurts so much. The supreme demon iron wailed. In fact, this guy was just making a fuss. It was completely fine. This was because the supreme demon iron was one of the hardest materials in the world. No one could hurt it. Suppress. Just as Madame of Bones sent the supreme demon iron flying, the stone of suppressing prison appeared. The stone of suppressing prison fell from the sky and suppressed Madame of Bones. Endless dark runes appeared on the surface of the stone of suppressing prison. Stone of suppressing prison. Stone of suppressing prison. After seeing the stone of suppressing prison, Madame of Bones screamed in horror. The stone of suppressing prison was the most effective against creatures from the underworld. Of course, even if it wasn't in existence from the underworld, as long as it was an evil spirit, it would be restrained by the stone of suppressing prison. Madame of Bones. She was an evil spirit, so naturally she would be restrained by the stone of suppressing prison. Therefore, when Madame of Bones saw the stone of suppressing prison, she lost control of her emotions. However, Madame of Bones was indeed powerful. She quickly calmed down and slapped at the stone of suppressing prison. Bang! Her terrifying attack collided with the stone of suppressing prison. She couldn't slap the stone of suppressing prison away, but the stone of suppressing prison couldn't suppress Madame of Bones either. Good chance. Lin Feng rushed up to Madame of Bones and slashed at her with his sword. Clang! An earth-shattering sound rang out. Lin Feng's sword seemed to have slashed at a peerless divine weapon. Madame of Bones' body was too abnormal. Lin Feng couldn't help but smile bitterly. Madame of Bones looked coldly at Lin Feng, then slapped at Lin Feng. Die! Bang! That terrifying palm slapped Lin Feng's body. Crack! Crack! Through the Dominator's armor, many of Lin Feng's bones were broken by Madame of Bones' palm. Madame of Bones was too terrifying. The supreme demon iron charged at Madame of Bones again, but it was still sent flying by her. The stone of suppressing prison continued to suppress Madame of Bones. However, after all, Madame of Bones wasn't a creature from the underworld, although the stone of suppressing prison restrained Madame of Bones. It couldn't really suppress Madame of Bones. Madame of Bones slapped the stone of suppressing prison again and again. It wouldn't be long before the stone of suppressing prison was sent flying by Madame of Bones. The situation was extremely dangerous. At this moment, Lin Feng had a flash of inspiration in his mind. He took out the Buddhist treasure Kasaya. Grabbing the Buddhist treasure Kasaya with both hands, he completely unfolded the Buddhist treasure Kasaya. Then, he quickly rushed toward Madame of Bones. Soon, Lin Feng arrived in front of Madame of Bones and hugged her. The Buddhist treasure Kasaya wrapped around the Madame of Bones. Madame of Bones' body emitted sizzling sounds of burning. The Buddhist treasure Kasaya caused great damage to Madame of Bones. Let go of me. Madame of Bones screamed and struggled, but Lin Feng hugged her tightly. So, no matter how Madame of Bones struggled, Chapter 3780. Damn it! All of you deserve to die. Madame of Bones screamed in anger as waves of terrifying ghost chi surged out from her body. Through the Kasaya, waves of terrifying ghost chi bombarded Lin Feng's body. Those ghost chi attacks were extremely powerful, almost causing Lin Feng's entire body to scatter. Lin Feng shouted in a deep voice, "Stone of suppressing prison! Help me suppress the Madame of Bones." I'll seal her. Yes, young master. After the stone of suppressing prison received Lin Feng's order, a large number of runes surged out and coiled around its body. Moreover, the stone of suppressing prison began to grow. In a few breaths of time, it had already grown 10 times larger. The power of the enlarged stone of suppressing prison was extremely terrifying. It once again suppressed the Madam of Bones. The Madam of Bones was indeed extremely tyrannical, but her body was now wrapped up by the Buddhist treasure Kasaya. In addition, the Madam of Bones was still unable to break free from Lin Feng. As a result, it was very difficult for the Madam of Bones to resist the suppression of the stone of suppressing prison. Under the suppression of the stone of suppressing prison, the Madam of Bones struggled more and more. At this moment, Lin Feng finally split his attention to seal the Madam of Bones. Lin Feng immediately used the 8 divine seals, densely packed divine runes interweaved in the air. Those divine runes directly wrapped around the Madam of Bones' body. Finally, the Madam of Bones' mana was sealed. Young master, please spare my life on account of my difficulties in cultivation. The Madam of Bones begged. Lin Feng sneered and said, How can I let a scourge like you live? If I let you live, who knows how many people you will harm? The Madam of Bones hurriedly said, Young master, in fact, I was imprisoned within a radius of 500 meters of the temple. There was no way for me to leave this place. Most of the people who died in the temple saw my beauty and wanted to do something bad to me. In the end, they were killed by me. The Madam of Bones' human appearance was indeed beautiful and moving. No wonder so many people coveted her beauty. The world of cultivators is a world where the strong preys on the weak. If I don't kill these people, he was going to be harmed by these people. If young master agrees to spare my life, I'm willing to offer all the treasures I've collected over the years to young master. Moreover, I can also give young master a sacred place for cultivation. If young master can cultivate there, it shouldn't be difficult for you to raise your cultivation by a few levels. Madam of Bones said hurriedly, Oh, there was such a place. Is there anything special about that place? Lin Feng asked in surprise. That place. There was Earth God's spiritual liquid. This was a treasure born from the heavens and earth against a cultivator's cultivation. Madam of Bones hurriedly said, Earth God's spiritual liquid, it turned out to be something like this. Lin Feng couldn't help but be surprised. There was an introduction to the Earth God's spiritual liquid in the classic of mountains and seas. This earth immortal spiritual liquid was extremely rare. It was a type of spiritual liquid that was formed when the laws of heaven and earth changed drastically. After a cultivator refined it, they would be able to directly increase their strength. A treasure like the Earth God's spiritual liquid. It shouldn't be ownerless, right? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. Madam of Bones said, The owner of the Earth immortal spiritual liquid is called by Ching Ching. She's from the Nine-Tailed Fox clan. Her seduction technique is invincible, and her strength is roughly at the level of a sage emperor. However, it's said that even emperor realm experts can't resist her seduction technique. Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked when he heard that. What a powerful vixen. She was even able to seduce emperor-level experts. All right, I'll go meet this woman. Where is she? Lin Feng asked. 13,000 miles to the west. There's a mountain range with 3 dragons spitting pearls. By Ching Ching's cave abode is there. Madam of Bones said. Lin Feng nodded and asked, Where are the treasures you've collected over the years? Madam of Bones said. Please wait for a moment, young master. As Madam of Bones spoke, she went to the southeast corner of the hall. Then, She pried open a brick and took out a storage ring. Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. This Madame of Bones. She really knew how to hide things. She actually hid the storage ring in such a secluded place. There are many storage rings inside, and all kinds of treasures. You can have anything you want. Please take a look, young master, Madame of Bones said. Lin Feng took the storage ring and scanned it with his divine sense. He found that there were indeed many storage rings inside. There were all sorts of treasures stored in those storage rings. Many of the storage rings were almost filled to the brim. Lin Feng put away the storage ring, then looked at Madame of Bones indifferently and said, "After 6 hours, your seal will automatically disappear." Then Lin Feng left with the Stone of Suppressing Prison and the Supreme Demon Iron. After Lin Feng left, Madame of Bones cursed loudly. "Damn bastard! How dare he steal all my treasures? I curse you to die in the hands of that vixen. By Ching Ching!" Of course, Lin Feng couldn't hear Madame of Bones's curses. Before going to Bai Ching Ching's cave abode, Lin Feng planned to see what good things Madame of Bones had obtained over the years. He found a secluded place and entered the time-space. Lin Feng took out all the items in hundreds of storage rings. When those things were piled up together, they piled up into mountain peaks. Immortal iron and divine stone, heavenly materials and earthly treasures, divine abilities secret manuals, cultivation methods, insights, all kinds of immortal stones, all kinds of Dharma treasures, and so on. He could find almost everything. Lin Feng even found many insect materials. Among these insect materials, Lin Feng found 5 kinds of insect materials to cultivate the Emperor Archaic, 7 kinds of insect materials to cultivate the Celestial Devouring Insect Queen, 10 kinds of insect materials to cultivate the Archaic Ancestor Insect Queen, and 13 kinds of insect materials to cultivate the Archaic Demon Insect Queen. These insect materials were extremely crucial to Lin Feng's cultivation of the 4 spiritual insects. Therefore, when Lin Feng saw these insect materials, he couldn't help but be extremely excited. In addition to these insect materials, Lin Feng also found 2 emperor weapons. The first emperor weapon was a black dagger. This emperor weapon was called the Piercing Dagger. The name was quite strange. The cultivator who forged the emperor weapon into a dagger in the past probably did so because he didn't have enough materials. Of course, it was also possible that the cultivator really liked to use daggers as a weapon, so he forged the emperor weapon into a dagger. The second imperial weapon was a ruler called the Starry River Ruler. It contained powerful star power and was made from the mysterious heaven star rune essence. It was said that this material could be used to forge a quasi-immortal weapon, but the cultivator had only forged 1 emperor weapon. He probably failed when he forged this supreme treasure. Therefore, the Star River Ruler was only an emperor weapon in the end. Chapter 3781, The Piercing Dagger and the Starry River Ruler were the 2 highest grade treasures among all the treasures. Although there were many other treasures, none of them had reached the level of an emperor weapon. As for immortal weapon treasures, there were even fewer. Lin Feng did not expect to find any immortal weapon treasures among the treasures. That was too unrealistic. Lin Feng was already very satisfied with obtaining 2 emperor weapon treasures. After refining the 2 emperor weapon treasures, he flew out of the space-time continuum. Lin Feng did not stop and flew directly to where Bai Ching Ching was. Soon after, night fell. Lin Feng landed in the forest to rest. Late at night, the roars of beasts resounded through the sky. There were many terrifying beasts in the ancient, gloomy forest. Many of the ferocious beasts were so powerful that it was shocking. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. More than 10 figures flew over from afar. They were all sword cultivators. It was unknown which faction they were from. Look, there are people below. Someone pointed at the bonfire below. Lin Feng leaned against a tree next to the bonfire and rested. It's hard to tell if there are humans or demons in the ancient, gloomy forest. Let's go down and take a look, the leading male cultivator said. The group quickly landed. Lin Feng woke up. They are human cultivators. One of the cultivators said. These people were all cultivators from the myriad races. They were not humans. Hundred Sword Sect, Gongsun Yi, how should I address you, brother? The leading cultivator cupped his fists and asked, My name is Ji. I'm a rogue cultivator. Lin Feng replied, Brother, did you enter this place alone to train? Gongsun Yi asked, Yes. Lin Feng nodded. He did not ask why they were here, but Lin Feng could more or less guess. They were probably here for some fortuitous encounter. The ancient gloomy forest is filled with danger. Rumor has it that there are even emperor-level great beasts sleeping in the depths of the ancient gloomy forest. Brother, you actually dared to enter the ancient gloomy forest alone. How admirable! Gongsun Yi said, I'm just a rogue cultivator. In order to survive, I have no choice but to take risks. I'm looking for treasures that can increase my cultivation. Lin Feng replied. Gongsun Yi said, If you're looking for a sect to protect you, you can take my token and head to the Hundred Swords Sect. My father is the sect master of the Hundred Swords Sect. If you come, we'll definitely welcome you. Gongsun Yi threw the token to Lin Feng. Lin Feng had also heard of the Hundred Swords Sect. It was one of the top forces in the Bitter Cold State, second only to the 9 great forces. He was extremely powerful. Of course, Lin Feng had no intention of joining the Hundred Swords Sect. However, one shouldn't slap a smiling face. Gongsun Yi had good intentions. Lin Feng wouldn't reject Gongsun Yi directly, so he accepted Gongsun Yi's token. Let me think about it. Lin Feng said, Good. I hope brother can come. When the time comes, we will definitely welcome you. Gongsun Yi cupped his fists and said, We still have matters to attend to, so we won't disturb your rest. Take care. Lin Feng said. Gongsun Yi and the others soared into the sky and quickly left. Senior brother, why are you so polite to that kid? You even took the initiative to invite him to our Hundred Swords Sect. That kid looks quite ordinary. A cultivator asked, puzzled. No, he's not simple. I tried to sense his cultivation realm earlier, but I couldn't. It seems like he deliberately hid his cultivation realm. Moreover, he dared to enter the dark, ancient forest alone to train. It's obvious that he's bold. Regardless of whether he's going to the Hundred Swords Sect or not, we'll form a good relationship with him today. Who knows when we'll need him in the future? Gongsun Yi said. Senior brother, you're very thoughtful. The cultivators said. Actually, Gongsun Yi was wrong about one thing. Gongsun Yi couldn't sense Lin Feng's cultivation realm. It wasn't that Lin Feng deliberately hid his cultivation realm. It was because after Lin Feng broke through to the Imperial Emperor realm, the providence enveloping his body became stronger and stronger. The providence on his body directly blocked other cultivators from sensing Lin Feng's cultivation realm. Only an expert with an extremely high cultivation realm could peek at Lin Feng's cultivation realm. Otherwise, it would be a fool's dream to sense Lin Feng's cultivation realm. The next day, Lin Feng continued on his journey. After flying for 200 miles, a violent fluctuation came from the void. Cultivators were fighting. Lin Feng increased his speed and flew forward. 15 minutes later, he was extremely close to the place where the battle was taking place. From afar, Lin Feng saw a huge claw flying out from the depths of the mountain range. The claw covered the sky and covered the sun. It directly slapped towards the 3 blood-stained cultivators. After seeing the 3 cultivators, Lin Feng was shocked. They were actually from the 100 Swords sect. The leader was Gongsun Yi. Lin Feng had a very deep impression of Gongsun Yi. Who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, Gongsun Yi and the others would be killed here? Lin Feng guessed that the others had already died in the valley, and Gongsun Yi's situation was extremely bad. Gongsun Yi's left arm had been torn off, and his chest had been pierced through by something. There was a bloody hole, and he looked very miserable. This was almost a fatal injury. At this moment, the huge beast's claw slapped over. The situation was very dangerous. Bang, bang, bang. Gongsun Yi and the other 2 were sent flying by the huge claw. They fell to the ground like kites with a broken string. Then the huge claw retracted. Lin Feng quickly flew over. When he arrived, he found that the other 2 cultivators had already died. Only Gongsun Yi survived. However, Gongsun Yi was already on the verge of death. He was already on the verge of death, and after taking that blow, he naturally couldn't hold on. When Gongsun Yi saw Lin Feng arrive, he grabbed Lin Feng's right hand and took out a white jade box. He handed it over to Lin Feng. "There's a sacred heart fruit in here. Brother Ji, please help me bring it back to the clan. Give it to my father." Gongsun Yi looked at Lin Feng with pleading eyes. The sacred heart fruit was interpreted. Gongsun Yi begged him to deliver the medicine, probably because someone was injured and needed the sacred heart fruit. Because of the Zhenyu Immortal Sect incident, Lin Feng didn't want to agree to Gongsun Yi's request. He didn't want to get involved. However, seeing Gongsun Yi's pleading eyes, Lin Feng finally nodded. He said, "Okay, I'll bring this sacred heart fruit back." "Many thanks." Gongsun Yi revealed an expression of relief. Then he stopped moving and breathed no more. Lin Feng sighed. The world was unpredictable. He had just met Gongsun Yi yesterday, and today Gongsun Yi and the others had died. Lin Feng put away the white jade box containing the sacred heart fruit and the corpses of Gongsun Yi and the other 2. Since he was going to the 100 Swords sect, Lin Feng planned to bring their corpses back with him. What kind of creature was that huge beast just now? How could it be so terrifying? Lin Feng looked into the depths of the mountain range and couldn't help but frown. The deaths of Gongsun Yi and the others should be related to the sacred heart fruit. It was very likely that Gongsun Yi had brought it out from the mountain range. Chapter 3782. Lin Feng planned to go inside to see what the situation was like. Perhaps he could gain something? He flew toward the depths of the mountain range. Not long after, Lin Feng saw a huge abyss in the mountain range. Waves of terrifying aura emanated from the abyss. After sensing the terrifying aura emanating from the abyss, Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. It seemed that the terrifying existence should be hiding under the abyss. He didn't know what that terrifying existence was. It was so powerful that it could kill Gongsun Yi and the others. Lin Feng flew toward the abyss. The abyss was extremely large. When he flew to the bottom of the abyss, Lin Feng saw a sacred heart tree in the distance. It was lush and had more than 10 fruits. Those fruits were the sacred heart fruits. After seeing those sacred heart fruits, Lin Feng knew that his guess was right. The sacred heart fruits in the white jade box were stolen from here. Therefore, this also angered the beast that lived here. Sacred heart fruit. It was a holy medicine for detoxification. The sacred heart fruit couldn't cure all the strange poisons in the world, but it could at least cure 80 to 90% of them. It could be seen how extraordinary the sacred heart fruit was. It was a treasure that everyone dreamed of. But Lin Feng found out the beast didn't guard the sacred heart tree. This meant that the first treasure that the beast was guarding shouldn't be the Sacred Heart tree. This surprised Lin Feng. He decided to plant the Sacred Heart tree in the medicine garden in the time and space. These Sacred Heart fruits would definitely be of great use in the future. Lin Feng wrapped the Sacred Heart tree with his magic power. Then, he directly transplanted the Sacred Heart tree into the time and space. As soon as he did all this, a terrifying aura surged out from the depths. Then, as if the earth and mountains were shaking, the terrifying existence rushed out. Lin Feng saw this terrifying existence clearly for the first time. He saw that this terrifying existence had a body like a dragon's, but it had 4 thick limbs like a crocodile. Its head was like a dragon, but not a dragon, like a crocodile, but not a crocodile. He didn't know what kind of creature it was. This was also the first time Lin Feng had seen such a creature. It was an extremely terrifying creature. Its ice-cold eyes stared coldly at Lin Feng as a voice filled with dense killing intent suddenly rang out. "Lowly creature, you even dare to barge into my territory and steal my Sacred Heart tree. You are seeking death. No one in this world can save your life." As soon as the voice fell, the terrifying existence's huge claw slapped towards Lin Feng. A loud rumbling sound was heard. It was as if a mountain was falling from the sky. Its power was extremely tyrannical. However, Lin Feng wasn't afraid at all. Facing the attack of the giant claw, he immediately activated his 6-fold arms of the Dracophant. Then, he punched out. Bang! Lin Feng's fist collided with the gigantic claw, which was descending from the sky. His fist collided with the gigantic claw. The terrifying existence's power was too terrifying. When it collided with Lin Feng's 6-fold arms of the Dracophant, it actually blocked Lin Feng's 6-fold arms of the Dracophant. It was a contest of physical strength. Lin Feng's 6-fold arms of the Dracophant could almost gain the upper hand no matter how tyrannical the existence was. However, this time, he didn't gain any advantage. This made Lin Feng extremely shocked. This was the first time he had seen a creature with such a terrifying physical strength. Boom! An oppressive aura filled the void. Then, an extremely thick tail whipped towards Lin Feng. It was like a moving mountain. That thick tail was simply too terrifying. Power! It was shocking. Lin Feng leaped up and dodged the tail attack. He arrived in front of the terrifying creature in an instant. A person from beyond the sky can kill an immortal with one sword. Lin Feng's cold voice suddenly resounded between heaven and earth. This was a supernatural power that Lin Feng had just comprehended not long ago. This was the first time he had used this powerful supernatural power. Lin Feng's body turned into a dazzling sword light. He seemed to have come from beyond the sky, like an immortal from beyond the sky. He instantly slashed towards the head of the terrifying creature. The terrifying creature opened its bloody mouth and directly spat out an energy ball. The aura contained in the energy ball made Lin Feng's hair stand on end. Lin Feng's face couldn't help but reveal an extremely shocked expression, because that energy ball was really too terrifying. Facing the attack of the energy ball, Lin Feng used the heaven patching technique. He instantly disappeared. Borrowing the power of the heaven patching technique, Lin Feng dodged the attack of the energy ball. The next time he appeared, he was already extremely close to the head of the terrifying creature. Poof! The sword light that Lin Feng transformed into instantly pierced through the head of the terrifying creature. The body of the terrifying creature began to twitch. Its tail whipped towards Lin Feng again. However, Lin Feng could clearly sense it. Compared to before, this terrifying creature's attack was already very weak. His attack just now had already caused extremely serious damage to this terrifying creature. Therefore, this terrifying creature's combat strength had plummeted. The sword light that Lin Feng transformed into had already pierced through the head of the terrifying creature before the tail as thick as a mountain ridge could reach him. Therefore, the terrifying creature's attack was unable to hit Lin Feng. Roar! The terrifying creature let out a painful roar. Its body began to twitch violently. It still wanted to struggle to death, but the sword light that Lin Feng transformed into pierced through its head 3 times in a row. Finally, the terrifying creature's huge body lay motionless on the ground. It had directly died. Whoosh! With a flash of light, Lin Feng transformed from sword light back to human form. Looking at the huge corpse in front of him, Lin Feng took a deep breath. Brother Gongsun, I've already killed the monster. I hope you can rest in peace in the underworld. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. Then, he walked towards the depths. In the depths of the forest, Lin Feng saw a gigantic stone tablet. Below the stone tablet, there was a metal sword stabbed into the ground. When he saw the metal sword, Lin Feng's eyes twitched violently. The metal sword gave Lin Feng a very strange feeling. Although the metal sword didn't emit a very powerful aura, Lin Feng felt that the metal sword was definitely not ordinary. The stone tablet has no words. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown when he saw that there wasn't a single word on the stone tablet. Was that wordless stone tablet a tombstone? Could it be that the thing that the huge beast was guarding earlier was this metal sword? Lin Feng quickly walked towards the metal sword. He planned to study it carefully, but at that moment, the space behind Lin Feng started twisting, and a cold light abruptly rose up in the air. Chapter 3783. The person who attacked was really sinister and cunning, hiding in the dark. Then, taking advantage of Lin Feng's unpreparedness, he launched a sneak attack on Lin Feng. Of course, this cultivator was able to succeed in his sneak attack. It was enough to show how terrifying this cultivator was. Before this, Lin Feng didn't even notice that there was a cultivator hiding here. Lin Feng's perception was extremely strong. Therefore, even though the other party was extremely hidden when he attacked, he still alarmed Lin Feng. However, even though Lin Feng noticed the movement behind him, because the distance was too close, it was too difficult for him to block such a terrifying attack in a hurry, even if he could block this terrifying attack. However, he would probably have to pay a huge price. Therefore, facing this attack, Lin Feng didn't think of blocking this attack head-on at all. Previously, he had already used the heaven patching technique. Therefore, Lin Feng was now unable to use the heaven patching technique. However, Lin Feng still had the Great Death Substitution technique, which could save his life at a critical moment. Lin Feng didn't hesitate to use the Great Death Substitution technique. He left behind a doppelganger condensed from his dermic powers, while his original body disappeared without a trace. When that terrifying attack came, it actually hit the clone, not Lin Feng's body. In the end, the clone was blasted into nothingness. Lin Feng's original body dodged that terrifying attack. In the next moment, Lin Feng appeared 100 meters away. "Get out here." Lin Feng's expression was indifferent as he swept a fist towards the void in front of him. A huge fist light condensed successfully, and the void instantly shattered. A female cultivator flew out from the shattered void. It was a woman in white. She was tall and charming. Her face was exquisite and beautiful. Every move of this female cultivator had a charm that could make people instantly lose themselves. Moreover, this woman's temperament was extremely charming. Lin Feng had never seen such a charming woman. "Vixen." Lin Feng raised his eyebrows slightly and said, "This woman." He was not a human cultivator. It was a woman from the nine-tailed fox clan. "Brat, you're really powerful. Even this big guy was killed by you. Moreover, you blocked my attack. How unexpected. What a surprise. The woman said sweetly. Her voice was too soft and charming. When Lin Feng heard her voice, he felt like his bones were going soft. A vixen was a vixen. If she wanted to charm others, she could do it with her voice alone. You're Bai Qingqing? Lin Feng narrowed his eyes at the vixen. This fox spirit had a powerful cultivation base and profound means. Lin Feng had heard from Madame of Bones that Bai Qingqing was a powerful vixen. As such, when he saw this vixen, Lin Feng immediately thought of Bai Qingqing. Yo, you know about my sister's reputation? To be honest, I'm more charming than my sister by quite a bit. My name is Bai Qingqing. Have you heard of my name? The woman asked sweetly. Bai Qingqing? Sorry, I've never heard of you. Lin Feng replied indifferently. You, Bai Qingqing glared at Lin Feng fiercely. Because Lin Feng knew that her sister was Lin Feng, Bai Qingqing felt that Lin Feng must have a certain understanding of the demon cultivators in the depths of the dark ancient forest. Although the Bai sisters were not the strongest demon cultivators in the dark ancient forest, they were definitely the most famous demon cultivators. Because the Bai sisters were beautiful, there were even some overlord-level demon cultivators who were peeking at the Bai sisters' peerless appearance. Lin Feng had heard of Bai Qingqing, but he said that he had never heard of her. Bai Qingqing naturally did not believe Lin Feng's words. She only thought that Lin Feng was deliberately ignoring her and deliberately provoking her. Many people knew that Bai Qingqing and her sister, Bai Qingqing, were not on good terms. Bai Qingqing felt that Lin Feng knew this as well, which was why he was provoking her. However, in reality, Bai Qingqing had misunderstood Lin Feng, because Lin Feng had indeed never heard of Bai Qingqing's reputation. His understanding of Bai Qingqing was also very limited. Moreover, he only knew about her from the Madame of Bones. At that time, the Madame of Bones did not mention Bai Qingqing to Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at Bai Qingqing indifferently and said, You, how dare you sneak attack me? You've committed a capital offense. However, on account of the heavens' benevolence, I can spare your life. However, the prerequisite is that you have to be my personal servant. Bai Qingqing naturally knew what Lin Feng was thinking. She smiled coquettishly and said, Personal servant? Sure, I like you very much and want to stay by your side forever. Bai Qingqing's voice was extremely charming as she looked at Lin Feng with her watery eyes. When Lin Feng and Bai Qingqing looked at each other, Lin Feng's expression changed. In an instant, Lin Feng's body froze on the spot. He felt as if he had been pulled into a world surrounded by beauties. As the saying goes, a land of tenderness, a den of heroes. Indulging in tenderness could destroy anyone's fighting spirit. Lin Feng was immersed in it and almost couldn't extricate himself. Fortunately, Lin Feng's willpower was strong enough, and he still had a trace of clarity. Therefore, Lin Feng activated Lu Ya's star chart. The illusions in his mind all disappeared, and Lin Feng's mental world returned to the real world. At this moment, Lin Feng realized that Bai Qingqing had already rushed over and slapped him with her palm. This woman, she used illusions to confuse Lin Feng. Her original body then attacked Lin Feng. Two-pronged attacks. Her methods were extraordinary. Lin Feng was almost lost in the illusion and couldn't extricate himself. But fortunately, he woke up in time. Seeing that Lin Feng had woken up, Bai Qingqing's face revealed an expression of disbelief. Lin Feng was clearly under the illusion, but he broke it so quickly. This was too unbelievable. However, Bai Qingqing didn't give up on attacking Lin Feng. Her terrifying palm had already been successfully prepared. It fiercely slapped towards Lin Feng. Bai Qingcheng wanted to take advantage of the fact that Lin Feng had just woken up and didn't have time to use his sacred art to severely injure Lin Feng. This way, it would be easier to deal with Lin Feng. Humph! Lin Feng's expression was indifferent as he directly activated the 6 times dragon elephant arm and charged towards Bai Qingcheng. He didn't have time to use his sacred art, but the 6 times dragon elephant arm was the power of his physical body and could be used anytime and anywhere. Moreover, Lin Feng's 6 times dragon elephant arm was too powerful, and it was enough to break through 10,000 techniques. Bang! Accompanied by the violent sound of collision, Lin Feng and Bai Qingcheng collided. Bai Qingcheng's attack didn't injure Lin Feng at all. On the contrary, Lin Feng's draconic elephant arm strength was 6 times stronger than hers. He punched her and sent her flying. "Suppress it for me." Lin Feng opened his hand, and monstrous mana surged out. It was like a Milky Way that descended from the Milky Way. That powerful dermic power directly pressed down on Bai Qingcheng. Chapter 3784. You want to suppress me? You're delusional. Bai Qingcheng was naturally unwilling to be suppressed by Lin Feng. Hence, she began to use her trump card. Waves of powerful dermic powers surged out of Bai Qingcheng's body. Then, golden light surged in her energy center. Countless runes flew out of her energy center. The densely packed runes circled around the surface of Bai Qingcheng's body. Those runes not only had a powerful defensive power, they could also increase Bai Qingcheng's attack power. Bai Qingcheng waved her hand and slapped out with her palm. It collided with the monstrous dermic powers that were suppressing her. It broke through the monstrous dermic powers that Lin Feng had used to suppress her. The Tao of Curses is strange and unpredictable. The Fist of Curses can break all spells. Lin Feng roared and attacked Bai Qingcheng again. His attacks seemed to be unending. Every move. They were all extremely terrifying, especially the Fist of Curses that he was using now. Its power was even greater. The Fist of Curses was a supreme offensive superpower that Lin Feng had comprehended from the great curse art. Bai Qingcheng did not dare to be careless. She used a superpower called Thousand Deity Obliteration to counter Lin Feng's Fist of Curses. However, Lin Feng's Fist of Curses was extremely strange. When it collided with Bai Qingcheng's Fist of Curses, a large amount of curse power broke through the Thousand Deity Obliteration superpower. Then, Lin Feng's powerful punch landed on Bai Qingcheng's body. Bai Qingcheng felt as if she had been struck by lightning. Her body was sent flying. The terrifying curse power surged into Bai Qingcheng's body, trying to take control of her body. That was the terrifying part of the curse power. Bai Qingcheng's expression changed when she felt the curse power surging into her body. At that moment, Lin Feng attacked Bai Qingcheng again. He used the Supreme Reincarnation Fist on Bai Qingcheng. Bai Qingcheng was horrified. Lin Feng's combat strength had deeply shocked her. Bai Qingcheng knew that she was no match for Lin Feng, especially now that he had suffered heavy injuries. It was even more impossible for him to be Lin Feng's opponent. He continued to fight. He would definitely be captured. If he fell into Lin Feng's hands, he would probably not have a good ending. Bai Qingcheng gritted her teeth. A ruthless look flashed across her beautiful eyes. Next, Bai Qingcheng's body began to shatter. F***CK, being young master servant is pretty good. Is there a need to commit suicide? Lin Feng was speechless when he saw this. He thought that Bai Qingcheng wanted to commit suicide. Just you wait. I won't let you get away with this. Bai Qingcheng glared at Lin Feng. Then, her body completely shattered. After her body was completely shattered, a streak of white light appeared and flew into the distance. It disappeared in the blink of an eye. A secret technique for escaping. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. He thought that by Qing Cheng was committing suicide. Only now did he know that it was just a method for escaping. However, that method of escaping, it would probably cause a lot of damage to the body. Lin Feng ignored Bai Qingcheng, who had left. His gaze was still on the mysterious iron sword and the wordless tombstone. Could it be a tomb? Lin Feng could not help but mutter to himself when he was 10 meters away from the mysterious iron sword. Suddenly, the mysterious iron sword let out a trembling sound. A terrifying aura surged out from the mysterious iron sword. Lin Feng quickly stopped. He felt that if he dared to take another step forward, something extremely terrifying was about to happen. The mysterious iron sword is extraordinary. How many secrets is it hiding? Lin Feng muttered to himself. The mysterious iron sword gave him a feeling that it was not ordinary. It was definitely an invincible treasure. Lin Feng planned to explore if there was a tomb underground. This was because this place did look like a tomb. Lin Feng used the dragon searching formula and slammed his palm on the ground. The ground cracked open, and a pit that was more than 10 meters deep appeared. A small dragon made of mud and sand appeared. The small dragon let out a dragon roar and then drilled into a deeper place. Half an hour later, the small dragon returned. The small dragon let out a dragon roar at Lin Feng, as if it was telling Lin Feng something. There's no tomb? There's only a stone tablet and an iron sword here? Lin Feng was surprised. It seemed that the actual situation here was somewhat different from what he had imagined. All right, I already know. Lin Feng said to the small dragon. Hearing this, the small dragon's body scattered and turned back into mud and sand, scattering in the forest. Since there was no tomb underground, the stone tablet could not be called a tombstone. Lin Feng observed the stone sword and the wordless stone tablet. He was thinking about how to get close to these two things. In the end, Lin Feng decided to use the most primitive method. He carefully walked toward the two things. At this moment, the mysterious iron sword vibrated again. Endless darkness surged out from the mysterious iron sword. Lin Feng was instantly enveloped by the endless darkness. Even if your cultivation is shocking, you won't be able to escape death. Lin Feng suddenly heard a cold voice that sounded like the divine voice of the heavenly Tao. It resounded in the world of darkness. He looked into the distance. This was a destroyed world. Everything had been destroyed. It was as if an era had collapsed. The aura of destruction was everywhere. Lin Feng saw a huge battle taking place in the distance. My fate is in my own hands, not the heavens. Another voice was heard. How laughable! The first voice was heard again. I want the heavens to no longer be able to hide from my eyes. I want the heavens to no longer be able to hide from my heart. The second existence continued to roar. Lin Feng could only see a man with an iron sword charging into the darkness. He did not know what he was fighting. His will was extremely strong, and his combat strength was heaven-defying. However, he was still defeated in the end. Fearless resistance. The first existence's voice was heard. Poof! A terrifying beam of light shot down and beheaded the expert. The existence held the iron sword in one hand and his head in the other. He charged into the darkness once again. When Lin Feng saw that, his heart was filled with astonishment. His will to fight was too strong. However, at this moment, all the images disappeared. Lin Feng returned to reality. As for the mysterious iron sword, it was constantly vibrating. Oh no, this is the nameless iron sword. It is waiting for its master to return. Who dares to approach it? It will kill them. At this moment, the supreme demon Iron thought of a legend and could not help but exclaim. Hearing this, Lin Feng was horrified. He quickly retreated, trying to get away from the mysterious iron sword. However, it was too late. Buzz. The mysterious iron sword soared into the sky and slashed at Lin Feng. After being locked on by the mysterious iron sword's aura, Lin Feng suddenly felt that his body could not move. Chapter 3785. Danger! 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 The nameless iron sword slashed over. Lin Feng felt the threat of death. He wanted to struggle, but he found that under the pressure of the nameless iron sword, he couldn't struggle at all. Lin Feng knew this was going to be troublesome. Just at this critical juncture, Zhang Xian's eyes lit up. Swish! A light flashed. The supreme demon, Iron Guy, rushed out. Clang! A sonorous collision sound was heard. The nameless iron sword slashed directly on the supreme demon Iron's body. The supreme demon Iron was sent flying. And Lin Feng took advantage of this opportunity to successfully operate the 3 layers of Haki. Under the operation of the 3 layers of Haki, he overcame the pressure of the nameless iron sword. Then, he quickly retreated. It's so painful. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die this time. The supreme demon Iron wailed. This guy was in so much pain that he grimaced. However, the supreme demon Iron was really too hard. The nameless iron sword's attack couldn't break the supreme demon Iron's defense. Even Lin Feng was very shocked. He didn't expect the supreme demon Iron's defense to be so strong. It was really shocking. Go! Lin Feng shouted in a deep voice. Although the nameless iron sword was extraordinary, there was no way to take it. So he wanted to leave here as soon as possible. Lin Feng quickly flew out, but the nameless iron sword obviously didn't want to let Lin Feng go. Buzz. The nameless iron sword gently shook the void. Suddenly, Lin Feng found the scene in front of him changed. He disappeared from the abyss. Then he appeared in a sword ocean world. Below, it was an ocean formed by sword chi. Endless sword chi flowed like seawater. Not far away, the nameless iron sword was suspended in midair. Damn, this iron sword is too awesome. It actually created such an illusory world. I was pulled into this world by it. This is going to be troublesome. Lin Feng's face suddenly became gloomy. He created a world and pulled others into it to fight. Lin Feng also knew this method. Lin Feng had once formed a sovereign, small world. Lin Feng could even plant flowers, trees, and so on in his own pocket world. It was also suitable for cultivators to cultivate there. Lin Feng was the world lord of this small world. However, Lin Feng's small world was still very fragile, although he could participate in the battle. But from the looks of it, the effect wasn't particularly great. Unless he evolved to a very high level, only Lin Feng's small world could play a huge role. The nameless iron sword was able to create such a terrifying miniature world. From this, one could see how terrifying the nameless iron sword was. Lin Feng took out his supreme treasure, the ruler's armor, and used it to protect himself. Then, more than a dozen powerful magic treasures were also taken out by Lin Feng. Lin Feng decided to give it his all. He is now. There was no way out. Buzz. The nameless iron sword shook the void and came over. With a slash of the sword, dense sword chi condensed. All of them rushed towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng's many magic treasures collided with the sword chi. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of collision rang out incessantly. They collided many times in a row. Many of Lin Feng's magic treasures were sent flying by the dense sword chi. Lin Feng's magic treasures were very powerful, but the sword chi from the nameless iron sword was also very powerful. Moreover, in the sword sea world, Lin Feng, including the magic treasures he took out, would be suppressed by the sword sea world. His battle strength would drop greatly, and the nameless iron sword would receive the bonus of the sword sea world, and his battle strength would increase greatly. Under these circumstances, Lin Feng's situation was indeed quite bad. When Lin Feng's magic treasures were sent flying, the dense sword chi slashed onto Lin Feng's body. However, Lin Feng was wearing the Dominator's armor. This magic treasure's defense was extremely strong. Right now, the power of the Dominator's armor was still sealed, causing Lin Feng to be unable to truly unleash the power of the Dominator's armor. Otherwise, with the power of the Dominator's armor, Lin Feng felt that even if he faced the iron sword, he would be completely fearless. The key was, at the current stage, Lin Feng could only use a small portion of the Dominator's armor's power, and the power that he could use was not enough to fight against the nameless iron sword. The nameless iron sword flew over quickly, slashing towards Lin Feng. It gently slashed in the void. Then, a shocking scene took place. A sword light that was tens of thousands of feet long condensed and locked onto Lin Feng, slashing towards Lin Feng. Damn! This time, I'm really done for. Lin Feng cried out in horror, wanting to dodge the sword light's attack. However, there was no way to dodge. I'm coming, the supreme demon Iron shouted and rushed towards the sword light, wanting to help Lin Feng block the sword light. However, the sword light was extremely terrifying. It directly sent the supreme demon Iron flying, but its power did not decrease by much. That terrifying sword light was about to slash down. Lin Feng felt a dangerous aura. He gritted his teeth, intending to resist. However, what made Lin Feng's hair stand on end was that, at this moment, he saw the nameless iron sword's original body flying over quickly. When he resisted the sword chi, the nameless iron sword would definitely kill him in one strike. The situation was really dangerous. Lin Feng knew that it was very likely that he would die under the nameless iron sword's attack. It was at this critical moment that Yi Zichen's eyes lit up. The void trembled slightly. The mysterious iron box actually flew out and floated in front of Lin Feng. When he saw the mysterious iron box, Lin Feng's face suddenly revealed an extremely shocked expression. The mysterious iron box would not easily appear on its own initiative, but now it appeared on its own initiative. What was the reason? Could it be that it wanted to protect its master? However, Lin Feng did not think so. The mysterious iron box was extremely strange and would not care about his life or death. Since it was not to protect its master, then what was the reason? Lin Feng used all his strength to resist the sword light's attack. Clang! And the iron sword slashed on the mysterious iron box. The sound of metal colliding was heard. The mysterious iron box helped him block the attack of the nameless iron sword. The nameless iron sword erupted with an even more terrifying aura. Lin Feng was shocked. The nameless iron sword now was like an ancient immortal that had been revived. How terrifying was its power! It was really unimaginable. He did not know who the owner of the nameless iron sword was. The magic treasure was so terrifying. It could be seen how powerful the owner of the nameless iron sword was. Seeing that the nameless iron sword was about to slash at the mysterious iron box again, suddenly, at this moment, kacha-kacha sounds were heard. The mysterious iron box actually opened a gap on its own initiative, a terrifying pressure that made the gods and Buddhas kneel down and kowtow. Chapter 3786. He didn't know if it was because he had more and more contact with the mysterious iron box. So, the pressure from the mysterious iron box was getting weaker and weaker on Lin Feng. Lin Feng still felt like he was suffocating. However, he was still able to withstand this kind of pressure. Therefore, when this kind of pressure enveloped them, Lin Feng wasn't affected much. Instead, the nameless iron sword was trembling violently. This made Lin Feng very confused with the terrifying strength of the nameless iron sword. It shouldn't be trembling like this after just feeling the pressure of the mysterious iron box, right? Swish. At this moment, a divine light shone from the mysterious iron box. In the divine light, a figure appeared. This figure was a man. This man's appearance couldn't be seen clearly, but the aura emitted from this man was extremely shocking. Buzz, buzz. When the man appeared, something shocking happened. The nameless iron sword flew to the man's side and began to vibrate violently. It made a series of buzzing sounds. What's going on? Lin Feng was completely dumbfounded. He didn't expect this to happen at all. This made him very confused. Immediately, Lin Feng suddenly thought of a possibility. Just now, he saw the peak battle in the dark, broken world. The man with the nameless iron sword fought against the heavens and the earth and never gave in. Even though his head was chopped off, he still held the sword in one hand and his head in the other and killed his way into the depths of the darkness. That scene shocked Lin Feng greatly. It was still vivid in his mind. And now, after the nameless iron sword saw the man in front of it, it made such an intimate, buzzing sound. It was like seeing a long-lost relative. Was it that? This man in front of it was the master that the nameless iron sword had been waiting for, and this man was a figure that appeared after the mysterious iron box was opened. Therefore, Lin Feng guessed this man's identity was actually the dismembered corpse's previous life. Lin Feng had always been curious about the origin of the dismembered corpses, but after so many years, it was still a mystery. Lin Feng tried his best to find out more about the dismembered corpse. But Lin Feng hadn't found anything until now. He had finally found some clues. The man who wielded an iron sword and fought against the heavens and the earth. This was dismembered corpse's previous life. Unfortunately, Lin Feng hadn't been able to see what had happened after that battle. However, Lin Feng could roughly guess. That existence was defeated. The corpse had been chopped into pieces by someone. Then it was put into a mysterious iron box. His magic treasure, the nameless iron sword, was left behind in the mortal world. It was waiting for its master to return. However, after waiting for so many years, he had never been able to wait for his master. Until now, he had finally seen his master. However, the sad thing was that the master that the nameless iron sword had waited so long to meet was no longer its master, because that was just a shadow that appeared from the dismembered corpse. Who exactly is he? Lin Feng couldn't help but say to himself, rushing into the darkness and fighting with an unknown existence, that kind of fighting spirit that was not afraid of death. It was simply too shocking. Anyone who had that kind of fighting spirit could probably become a killing god. However, his identity was still a mystery. The man's illusory figure grabbed the iron sword. At this moment, between heaven and earth, there was a sound of the great Tao. The great Tao of heaven and earth resonated. In the end, the man's shadow began to gradually dissipate. Perhaps after the dismembered corpse felt the aura of his former comrade. He couldn't help it. An illusory figure appeared, separated by endless years. Come out again. Meet him. For the last time. Not long after. Then, the illusory figure completely disappeared. The mysterious iron box. It closed again. Swish. With a flash of light, the mysterious iron box flew back into Lin Feng's time and space. And the nameless iron sword emitted a sorrowful cry. The nameless iron sword had a spirit, knowing that its master died, tragically. Now, murderous intent filled the sky. The nameless iron sword continuously slashed out hundreds of sword chi in the void. Every sword chi, it would leave a huge void crack that was thousands of meters long in the void. From those void cracks, a large amount of space-time power gushed out. However, those torn void quickly recovered as before. Buzz. After venting, the nameless iron sword directly turned into a sword light and quickly flew toward Lin Feng. It drilled into Lin Feng's dantian. It was suspended above Lin Feng's dantian. What's going on? Lin Feng couldn't help but be extremely surprised. The nameless iron sword actually took the initiative to enter his body. This made Lin Feng extremely shocked. Could it be? After the nameless iron sword knew that its master was dead, it wanted to recognize him as its master? Thinking of this, Lin Feng couldn't help but show joy on his face. Then, Lin Feng tried to use his divine sense to invade the nameless iron sword to refine this supreme treasure, but after several attempts, he found that it was impossible. When Lin Feng tried again, the nameless iron sword shook slightly and directly destroyed Lin Feng's divine sense. Lin Feng's face couldn't help but turn slightly pale. His expression became ugly. The nameless iron sword was really too strange. Since it didn't let him refine it, why did it drill into his dantian? Lin Feng couldn't understand why he had done that. However, thinking that the corpse of the nameless iron sword's previous master had been with him for many years, and the connection between the two was getting closer and closer, Lin Feng gradually relaxed. No matter what the nameless iron sword's purpose was, at least it didn't hurt him. And that was enough. Now that he couldn't refine the nameless iron sword, it didn't mean that he couldn't refine it in the future. Perhaps, soon, at some time, he would be able to refine the nameless iron sword. Damn, come out. Let's fight for another 300 rounds. The supreme demon Iron shouted loudly with an arrogant look on his face. The nameless iron sword vibrated with a terrifying wave, and Supreme Demon Iron was instantly scared witless and flew back into the time and space. This made Lin Feng a little dumbfounded. Lin Feng withdrew his mind and walked towards the nameless stone tablet. He came to the nameless stone tablet and found that there was nothing special about it. Of course, Lin Feng felt that it was also possible that his level was limited, so he couldn't find the uniqueness of the nameless stone tablet. Because the nameless stone tablet was together with the nameless iron sword, Lin Feng instinctively felt that the nameless stone tablet was somewhat extraordinary. Lin Feng waved his hand, and a powerful spiritual power surged out, wrapping around the nameless stone tablet. Chapter 3787. After collecting the wordless stone tablet, Lin Feng left this place. He first found a place to adjust his state. Then he set off again. His destination was Bai Qingqing's cave residence. The next afternoon, Lin Feng arrived outside the mountain range, where Bai Qingqing was. Bai Qingqing is here too. Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. Through a trace of cursed power, Lin Feng sensed Bai Qingqing's existence. Bai Qingqing was also with Bai Qingqing, and she hadn't been able to completely remove the curse power in her body. Bai Qingqing's illusion technique was very powerful, but obviously, Bai Qingqing was far inferior to Bai Qingqing, because Bai Qingqing was only a third heaven saint emperor, while Bai Qingqing was a peak saint emperor. All kinds of illusion techniques, charm techniques were also a kind of illusion techniques, were superb. Of course, among all kinds of illusion techniques, charm techniques were definitely the most powerful. However, the other illusion techniques also had to be taken seriously. Lin Feng planned to sneak into the mountain range at night. Moreover, it wouldn't be long before night fell. Soon, the sun set. Night fell. darkness enveloped the earth. On this night, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and dark clouds rolled. It was so dark that one couldn't see his fingers. It was a good opportunity for Lin Feng to make his move. Lin Feng quietly entered the mountain range. He saw Bai Qingqing's cave residence from afar. There were 4 big words written on the cave residence. It was called Jade Saint Immortal Abode. Lin Feng guessed that Jade Saint was a name that Bai Qingqing gave herself. It sounded awesome. An immortal abode usually referred to a residence left behind by an immortal or a residence where an immortal cultivated. Bai Qingqing's cave residence naturally wasn't qualified to be called an immortal abode. However, Lin Feng knew that there were many fake immortal abodes in this world of cultivators. These fake immortal abodes were built by cultivators who hadn't reached the immortal realm. They wanted to give their cave abodes a name that was of a higher class. They would often name it Immortal Abode. In fact, it couldn't be called an immortal abode at all. It was far from being called one. Lin Feng was about to enter Bai Qingqing's Jade Saint Immortal Abode. Suddenly, within the mountain range, densely packed formation runes appeared. Those formation runes locked down the void as all sorts of large formations intertwined together. Layers upon layers of formations sealed off the area. There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. There's no door to hell, but you barge in. Brat, since you're here to die, then I don't mind taking your life today. After Lin Feng was trapped by the formation, Bai Qingqing walked out of the Jade Sage Immortal Mansion and looked coldly at Lin Feng through the formation. Although Bai Qingqing and her sister, Bai Qingqing, were not on good terms, they were still sisters. If they were in danger, they would naturally side with each other. Therefore, the moment she was injured, Bai Qingqing went to her sister, Bai Qingqing, for protection. It would have been fine if Lin Feng hadn't chased after him. If they chased after him, he would make sure that Lin Feng would never be able to return. Bai Qingqing's wishful thinking was perfect. She had been paying attention to the situation outside. She found that Lin Feng had really come here. Without hesitation, she activated the ultimate killing formation. The ultimate killing formation here had integrated 49 types of powerful illusory formations and 321 types of offensive formations. These illusory formations and offensive formations were perfectly combined and could erupt with unimaginable power. Anyone who was enveloped by the absolute kill great formation here would almost certainly die. In Bai Qingqing's opinion, not to mention Lin Feng, even an emperor-level expert would have to think twice before breaking the formation. Therefore, when she saw that Lin Feng was trapped in the ultimate killing formation, Bai Qingqing sneered. Said Bai Qingqing, smiling coldly, Lin Feng couldn't escape even if he had wings. Little slave, you don't know your place. Quickly come over and acknowledge me as your master. Young master can be gentler to you, or else. Do you believe that I won't give you a good beating with a leather whip? Lin Feng looked at Bai Qingqing and said, You're about to die, yet you still dare to be so arrogant. You're so stupid. I'll take your worthless life now. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but snort coldly. Then she began to activate the formations. Bai Qingqing cast all kinds of illusory formations and offensive formations. All kinds of terrifying attacks blasted toward Lin Feng. Stone Emperor steps. At this moment, Lin Feng began to walk in the ultimate killing formation. The attacks that filled the sky came crashing down, but they couldn't hurt Lin Feng. This scene was really shocking. The reason why Lin Feng could dodge the attacks of all kinds of formations was mainly because of the wonders of the Stone Emperor steps. The cultivation method of the heavenly masters was called the Stone Emperor scripture. Why was it called that? Because it was said that the cultivator who created the Stone Emperor scripture was called the Stone Emperor. However, Lin Feng didn't know what kind of person the Stone Emperor was. Of course, Lin Feng guessed that the Stone Emperor was very likely the first ancestor of the Heavenly Masters. However, this was only Lin Feng's guess. Lin Feng didn't know whether it was true or not. The Stone Emperor steps passed down by the Stone Emperor was an extremely mysterious secret technique. It allowed one to shuttle through the formations and dodge the attacks of the formations with ease. This is impossible. Bai Qingqing's face was filled with disbelief when she saw how easily Lin Feng dodged the attacks of the various ultimate killing formations. So many powerful attacks, but Lin Feng dodged them so easily. It was unbelievable. At the very least, a few of the attacks should have hit Lin Feng, right? However, none. Not even one. Mere formations can't stop me at all. You're really too disobedient. Wait until this young master catches you. See how this young master will teach you a lesson, said Lin Feng with a smile, yet not a smile. Lin Feng was naturally confident in catching Bai Qingqing. Bai Qingqing's face was extremely ugly. At this moment, Lin Feng was walking out of the formation. Bai Qingqing knew that once Lin Feng came out of the formation, the situation would be troublesome. What a powerful method to break the formation. However, do you think that you can walk out of the formation like this? You're too full of yourself. At this moment, a cold snort suddenly sounded. Then, a second woman flew out of the Jade Saint Immortal Mansion. This woman was wearing a pink dress. She was tall and slender, with creamy skin. Her face was beautiful and her temperament was charming. She looked somewhat similar to Bai Qingqing. This woman should be Bai Qingqing's elder sister, Bai Qingqing. She was a powerful existence. Her illusory techniques could even trick Emperor Realm experts. Chapter 3788. As long as he could protect his soul and not be bewitched by Bai Qingqing, Lin Feng was naturally not afraid of Bai Qingqing. He said, Bai Qingqing, I happen to be short of 2 maids. In my opinion, you 2 sisters are barely qualified to be my maidservants. Pledge your allegiance to me now. I won't mistreat you 2 sisters. After hearing Lin Feng's words, Bai Qingqing couldn't help but be slightly stunned. Then she laughed coquettishly. She laughed like a flower trembling. Ridiculous, ridiculous, really ridiculous. Bai Qingqing laughed and said, I've seen arrogant people, but I've never seen someone as arrogant as you. Even an emperor-level powerhouse wouldn't dare to trespass my ultimate killing array. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? You'll be crying later. As soon as she finished speaking, Bai Qingqing began to activate the ultimate killing array here. Roar. In the east, a dragon's roar shook the sky. An azure dragon appeared, bearing its fangs and brandishing its claws. The dragon's aura was vast for 3,000 miles. Screech. In the south, a sharp and ear-piercing cry was heard. A fire phoenix appeared in the flames. Rebirth from the fire. Roar. The roar shook the heavens. A white tiger appeared. The king of beasts appeared. Between heaven and earth, there was silence. Hee. In the north, waves of roars were heard. A black tortoise appeared. Hiss. In the middle area, the hissing of a giant snake could be heard. A huge python that was thousands of meters long appeared. That python was actually a blazing serpent. Blazing serpent, the central sacred beast of the 5 sacred beasts. This was the 5 sacred beasts array. The 5 sacred beasts were evolved. The 5 sacred beasts corresponded to metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. The attack of the 5 sacred beasts array. It also corresponded to the 5 major attributes of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. They cycled together and grew endlessly. they increased each other's power. Therefore, the strength of the attack was absolutely shocking. The 5 sacred beasts array has been activated. Let's see how you resist the attack of the 5 sacred beasts array. Bai Qingqing looked at Lin Feng gloatingly. She couldn't wait to see Lin Feng's defeated look. At this time, the 5 saint beasts attacked Lin Feng at the same time. The aura of the 5 sacred beasts was extremely terrifying. The fluctuations emitted from their bodies were suffocating. The azure dragon spat out water. Phoenix grasps the sun, white tiger fighting the heavens. Black tortoise destroys the world. Brilliant snake splits the sky. The attacks of the 5 sacred beasts were so powerful that it made people turn pale with fright. Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. Trying to dodge the attacks of the 5 divine beasts with the Stone Emperor steps was somewhat unrealistic. However, Lin Feng wasn't completely helpless against the attacks of the 5 sacred beasts. Facing the attacks of the 5 sacred beasts, Lin Feng directly used the heaven patching technique. As a result, the attacks of the 5 divine beasts missed. When Lin Feng reappeared, he was shocked. He had already appeared 100 meters away. Of course, Lin Feng was still inside the array. At this time, Lin Feng used the heaven seizing technique. The heaven seizing technique was also a secret technique recorded in the Stone Emperor Sutra. This was an extremely heaven-defying secret technique. Once it was used, it could seize control of any array. At this moment, Lin Feng used the heaven-seizing technique in order to seize control of the 5 sacred beasts array from Bai Qingqing's hands. Dense runes surged out. Those runes directly merged into the 5 sacred beasts array. Bai Qingqing's expression instantly turned ugly, because Bai Qingqing could clearly sense that the 5 sacred beasts array was gradually getting out of her control. This caused Bai Qingqing's heart to sink. She originally thought that she could rely on such a powerful array to suppress Lin Feng and even kill Lin Feng. But who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, the control of the array would be snatched away by Lin Feng? Bai Qingqing couldn't help but feel a sense of horror in her heart. Generally speaking, an array grandmaster was an ancient expert who had cultivated for tens of thousands of years. And Bai Qingqing knew from her younger sister, Bai Qingqing, that Lin Feng's cultivation was extremely powerful. After seeing Lin Feng, Bai Qingqing realized that Lin Feng was really too young. So young, such a terrifying cultivation, and he was so proficient in array formations. He could be said to be the grandmaster of array grandmasters. This was too inconceivable. Bai Qingqing was even unwilling to believe all of this. But all of this was real. She couldn't tolerate it. She didn't believe it. Sister, let me give you a hand. Bai Qingqing also discovered the trouble that Bai Qingqing was in. So she quickly flew behind Bai Qingqing and placed her hands on Bai Qingqing's back. Powerful magic power. It poured into Bai Qingqing's body. Sisters were connected. Their magic powers were connected. At this moment, Bai Qingqing could use Bai Qingqing's magic power to control the array, in addition to her own powerful magic power. The control of the array. Naturally, it increased greatly, but soon Bai Qingqing's expression became incomparably ugly, because even with Bai Qingqing's support, she realized she was still in a disadvantageous position when it came to controlling the 5 sacred beasts array. Take it away. Lin Feng shouted loudly, and a monstrous magic power surged out. That powerful magic power instantly poured into the 5 sacred beasts array. Lin Feng completely took away the control of the 5 sacred beasts array. Wah! Wah! The Bai sisters immediately suffered a backlash. They each spat out a mouthful of blood, and their faces turned pale. After Lin Feng took away the control of the 5 sacred beasts array, he directly dispersed the 5 sacred beasts. Then he rushed out of the array. Swoosh! A light flashed, and Lin Feng rushed out of the array. Two little girls. Are you ready to become my slaves now? Lin Feng said with a cold smile. We're ready. The two of us are willing to become young master servants. Bai Qingqing said with a charming smile. Bai Qingqing also said with a charming smile, we sisters are willing to serve you for the rest of our lives. The Bai sisters together used the art of seduction. Suddenly, the power of the sisters' art of seduction was greatly increased. Lin Feng's eyes became confused. He felt he was surrounded by beauties and didn't want to wake up. He just wanted to live in this world. This was the terrifying part of the Bai sisters' art of seduction. Both of them had extremely powerful art of seduction. When used together, they complemented each other, and their power increased several times. It was very difficult for anyone to resist the sisters' art of seduction. Therefore, even if Lin Feng was already on guard, but in the face of the Bai sisters' powerful art of seduction, Lin Feng still couldn't resist it. Good chance. Kill him. The Bai sisters' eyes suddenly lit up. Then they all flew toward Lin Feng.